Attention Talking Simpsons listeners, we have a special mini-series just for you.
We're going through the entire first season of King of the Hill, and you can only hear it if you're a $5 and up patron at patreon.com/TalkingSimpsons.
We're giving the Talking Simpsons treatment to all 13 episodes of King of the Hill's first season, and if you want a free sample, you'll find the first episode available for free in the Talking Simpsons feed. Patreon.com/TalkingSimpsons. It's the only place you'll find the first season of Talk King of the Hill.
Made you go click, 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 click. It's real easy, man.
Cartoons from present and the past. Every week will be an animated bash. What a cartoon! What a cartoon! Maybe a short but mostly shows. We'll talk, we'll analyze, exploring as we go. What a cartoon! What a cartoon! What a cartoon!
Hello everybody and welcome to What a Cartoon, the home of 3D printed personal pan pizzas. I'm your host, Moon Mania 2 speedrunner Bob Mackey, and this is an audio exploration of every cartoon ever. Who is here with me today?
Jane Austen Film Night viewer Henry Gilbert.
Today's episodes are the Weekenders episodes Cry and The Perfect Son.
It's Tino. I'm hiding because I humiliated myself in class and I can't let the other kids see me ever again.
These episodes aired on September 16th, 2001. It's unavoidable, but this is the weekend after that fateful Tuesday when they canceled my anime night. Oh, and September 11th happened too.
Yes, yeah, boy, it was the day that changed us all, that
Yeah,
anime
how could
night.
you enjoy Saturday morning cartoons? How is this not preempted?
Well, it's what you wanted to see.
I guess so.
I remember on actual September 11th flipping to Nickelodeon at a certain point of like, I just want to watch these SpongeBob things that they're airing. 'Cause
Yeah.
they decided on like some of the kids' networks, kids don't need to see this. Like
That's good.
They can have a little outlet.
I kind of want to apologize for mentioning that up front, but whenever we do something that's kind of hovering around September 11th, I'm thinking like, oh, 2 more weeks. Or in this case, that was 5 days ago because it was a major event in American history and
Yeah.
world history too, to be fair.
We were all shell-shocked after that, and we turned to so many things, and one of those was one Saturday morning to find some semblance of reality for us.
But this episode is a patron request, correct?
Yes, it comes from patron Royce A. Murray, though they didn't say why they wanted this one. But yes, this was a pick by them. And, not to say we'd never have done this, but this is one of those ones that probably wouldn't have been, it would probably be the 5th ABC One Saturday Morning show we'd have done in order, I think.
Yeah, it's not very notable in my history with cartoons, but upon watching it, I think it is a fairly good show.
Yeah.
And I was a little too old for this. I think this was for people maybe 10 years younger than us and younger.
Yeah. Though, I mean, not that I didn't watch an episode here or there on a Saturday morning in my late teens.
I was watching some of One Saturday Morning. I saw quite a bit of Recess and Pepper Ann and some of Disney's brand spanking new Doug. I was there for a bit.
Yeah. Doug pulled me in a little bit, though. This was like 3rd year of One Saturday morning, too. So you had to keep, really be looking for it. But
At that point, I put away my childish things and became a man who watched a lot of anime. So,
but not Pokemon.
Oh, no, of course not.
I didn't watch much of this either, though a little bit, and I did like what I saw. Like, I enjoy the character designs, the animation's so. I mean, it's a very writer-driven show, but the character designs are really cool, especially like they're constantly changing costumes. It reminds me of like Archie comics, how they're always wearing new fashion
that's
instead
true.
of one outfit.
Yeah, and we were talking a bit about this at lunch, but between the late 90s into the early 2000s, there was a brief, I would say 5 or 6 year fad of what I would call like the kids doing stuff genre of animated shows. So things like this and Recess and Pepper Ann as told by Ginger. WB would have its own versions of that with like things like Detention. It was a very...
Oh my God, I forgot that one.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very popular style of show that was in the history of things kind of short-lived, but this definitely falls into place with one of those kind of shows.
Yeah, I think whoever bought brand spanking new Doug at ABC, they're like, I need 17 more shows like this show.
And this is kind of like Doug for people 10 years younger than us. So Doug debuted in August of 91. This is September of 2001, 10 years later. So this is Doug for the next generation of people.
And I think they found an interesting niche on this show, too, that they realized so much of them are set at school, like Pepper Ann, Doug. A lot of them were set during school. Recess is all school. So Weekenders is the anti-school school show. Every episode is like a 3-act structure of Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Like a problem begins on Friday, gets worse on Saturday, and is resolved on Sunday.
It was nice to see another cartoon about kids, but not one that involves school anxiety. Because even though I was good at school, I didn't like being there.
There's anxiety for sure in the show, but not school. And also what struck me in this rewatch of it too is that when I watched it the first time, I didn't know exactly what SoCal was, but this is such a SoCal show.
San Diego.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, and also they've got like, there's their favorite band. They get mentioned in the episode we're doing, but Chum Bucket with 2 Ks in the word bucket. They are totally like a No Doubt Blink 182 type band, but they are very like new punk, Orange County ska kind of feel.
Oh,
to
God.
them,
I was
too.
watching the show and writing down all the fashion choices because I was kind of dressing like this, even though I was 10 years older than these characters. So things like just arbitrary stripes on clothing, like the main character has just a sweater with just a fun stripe through it. Why not? And cargo shorts and the cargo pants and things like that. And like soap shoes and Skechers.
Yeah, I think I took a lot of fashion tips from them in this very week, even. I was like, bowling shirts. I should own more of those.
I've ditched the striped things, but I still wear flannels over t-shirts.
Yes, Weekenders. Let's get into the history. And there's not a ton of information out there about the Weekenders or the creation of it, but I definitely found a lot. This history segment is a story of 2 things: Disney's One Saturday Morning and Weekenders series creator Doug Langdell.
And what would make you feel real fine? One Saturday morning. Coming up next is Tuesday's grind. The week is young, but I'm out of my mind. What would make you feel real fine? One Saturday morning.
So, Doug Langdale has a very long career in the animation industry. He got his start with his first professional credit at the young age of 22. And he got his start in the peak of Disney Afternoon. He wrote 11 episodes of Darkwing Duck.
Oh, wow. Nice.
And a lot of them with Negaduck, like the one where Negaduck stole the Fearsome Five's powers, the one where Negaduck starts dating Morgana, and a few others like that. And he was also story editor on it as
Great.
well. Yeah.
The creator of Darkwing Duck loves Negaduck, and I was just at his booth at Midwest Gaming Classic. I bought 2 pieces of art from him, and he has a lot of Negaduck art.
Well, Negaduck gets to say all the fun things that
Yeah.
Darkwing doesn't get to say. Like him calling, in the Darkwing Duck episode we did, him calling the other guys knobs.
Yeah.
I love that line.
And so Tad Stones always draws him too with shark teeth,
Oh,
which I
that's
think is what he originally wanted for the character. Anyway, sorry.
Well, actually, it's funny you bring up Tad Stones because
Oh.
I think Tad was a fan of Langdell's because after Darkwing Duck, he immediately took Langdell to his next project, which was the Aladdin TV series. Langdell
Oh,
was
cool.
there from the beginning. He's one of the many people credited for story on Return to Jafar and was story editor and wrote a ton on the Aladdin television series as well. Though, after that, he exited Disney for greener pastures. See, by the mid-90s, Disney TV was just one of many fish in the pond, especially as Kids WB was starting to build up. And it was kind of like, almost it felt like a Disney-Warner competition of who could have a better show or better programming. And so Kids WB, when it launched in 95, they only had one show that was a non-Warner produced television show that was done with Universal.
Is it Earthworm Jim?
It is Earthworm
Okay.
Jim, yes, yeah. And Earthworm Jim's creator, Doug TenNapel.
Ooh, no.
Short version is he sucks. I
Yeah.
mean, he's a conservative reactionary, hardcore Christian who takes that stance to say, fuck gay marriage, fuck anybody trans, fuck anybody slightly different from me. Like that very much is his stance. Though he also is constantly playing the victim censored by liberals as well.
So yeah, he's a real stinker. We don't want to depress you. If you do some light Googling about Doug TenNapel, you'll see why he sucks. And never support Earthworm Jim in any fashion.
No, not. It might seem nice, but no, not anymore. But yes, Doug TenNapel was a creator of Earthworm Jim, which in 1994, very, very popular, like a huge hit. I think second only to Donkey Kong Country that year in like video game sales.
Yeah,
It
94,
was-
95 was just peak Earthworm Jim mania.
Yeah, and so TenNapel, as the creator, pitched a television adaptation, which was a style at the time for popular video games. But Universal wanted to partner him with somebody to develop it into a full television show. Doug Langdale, only at the age of like 25,
Wow.
gets hired by Universal to be the co-developer / / co-creator of the television version of Earthworm Jim. And, I don't want to compliment TenNapel's work too much, but the TV show is actually good. I would say it is an actually funny cartoon.
It probably is the best video game cartoon adaptation, unless
Yeah.
I'm missing some other glaring omission.
At least from Americans.
yeah,
I
from
would say.
Americans, yeah. Pokemon is much better than Earthworm Jim in terms of a faithful adaptation.
Yeah, but on the American side of things, it's hard to think of a better one. But because it had, and I think Langdale was a huge part of that he brought to it so many things that he did well in Darkwing as well. Like, it is a hero-driven show that doesn't take itself too seriously. It is led by a very strong voice acting cast.
Yeah.
It's also a very writer-driven animation. Not that, I believe it was Nelvana that was the production company.
You could be right about that, yeah.
But it had serviceable animation. It was fine. But I mean, it starred Dan Castellaneta as well, and it was full of absurdist humor that would break the fourth wall. Though, because it came out in the shadow of Ren and Stimpy, it was highly scatological as well. But I remember really enjoying the show. I was going to watch it just because Homer Simpson's voice was on it.
Yeah.
And because I did love Earthworm Jim in 1994.
I did too, but try going back to
won't
those
lie.
games.
Oh, unplayable.
Yeah.
Unplayable. But
they're rough. They're rough.
But I think the success of that show really is that Langdale was able to hammer the random ass characters and non-story of the Earthworm Jim video game into an actual universe of characters that could have adventures together and silly fun. And so after 2 seasons of Earthworm Jim, 13 episodes and 10 episodes, Doug then moved on to a new project co-creating with TenNapel the series Project Geeker for CBS, which I never saw. It was gone in an instant.
Yeah, I think I might have just scanned past it watching Saturday morning cartoons at some point, but it didn't look very interesting.
An interesting thing about it was that it got canceled, and they tried to save it by saying, CBS, can't you say to the FCC this is educational? And they're like, it doesn't hit the requirements.
It teaches the world about geeks.
But it seemed like a cute enough sci-fi adventure comedy. But yeah, TenNapel himself says that Langdale is the only creative partner he ever worked with. TenNapel made other series after this, but only with himself as at the top of the food chain. My assumption is that TenNapel is insufferable to work with, and that no one else would want to. And
Yeah.
I think it's not surprising that after Geeker, Langdale would separate and go his separate way and be his own showrunner.
He could have just become a more aggressive conservative Christian too,
Yeah. One, I don't want to speak too much for Langdale's politics because he doesn't talk too much about them. But one fortunate thing was,
Oh no.
today, the recording of this episode, there is Doug Langdale stand-up comedy that was posted to YouTube that was recorded on June 22nd, 2019. This is recent stand-up. It feels like he just wanted to, hey, let's do stand-up again. I probably did that in the past. Let's try it out again. And Langdale had a fun, lengthy bit making fun of Trump. So I was like,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah, low-hanging fruit,
Yeah,
sure.
low-hanging fruit. He was making fun of his tweet to the French of why don't they just drop water on the Notre Dame?
Yeah.
Notre Dame.
That's
But-
another just of our president live tweeting his own commentary.
Yes.
Things he watches on TV.
But so yeah, I think Langdale isn't canceled yet. He's no,
Okay.
No,
Well, so there's no bad news.
No, this
Okay,
was
okay,
good news.
okay,
It was
good
good news
news.
that he had anti-Trump jokes in it that just let you know. He's got pink hair. He's a large, punky looking dude with a pink mohawk and a beard. He seems like a fun guy, this Langdale.
I could see why he would stop working with Doug TenNapel.
But if you'd like to see his stand up, I was the first view on that video.
Ooh,
but it was posted
ooh.
this morning, so I'm not saying it's that unpopular.
We can get him on the
but
show.
I feel like he's gettable, yes, yeah. But so anyway, TenNapel and him separated. Langdale moved on. He did a few one-off scripts here and there, including some on more in the Kids WB universe of shows. But by 1999, he was pulled back into the orbit of Disney television. And by that time, the situation had changed quite a lot in Disney TV because of Disney's 1995, honestly immoral and should have been illegal purchase of ABC.
And then all the characters from all the shows can go to Disneyland. Tell you how great it is.
It's just felt like nothing then when I was a kid. But now that I think back on it, no, Disney should not be able to own a network, one of the big 3 networks. That should be illegal.
I just thought it was fun. All my favorite characters go to Disneyland now, and Roseanne will make fun of it.
It's so, but then she eventually is twisted to its will. No, I like it too.
That's true.
They all learn to like Disney in their own ways.
In the end, Big Brother always wins. I've read the book.
Yeah, so prior to 1997, ABC Saturday mornings were all right. They were pretty low. The order of my viewing was like CBS, ABC, and then NBC in those time slots. And then when Fox showed up, it was Fox, CBS, ABC, NBC.
NBC was a non-entity after 1991-92. That was when there was no cartoons and all, like live action, Saved by the Bell, California Dreams, whatever else
And
was
I
happening.
just watched Saved by the Bell reruns, so I don't just waste my precious Saturday hours.
I'm not dealing with this new class.
What were your what was your stop in the viewing before Fox came around?
Oh, I would say number one was probably NBC.
Really?
Yeah, before
Wow.
Fox Kids.
See, it was the Call of Muppet Babies that had me watching CBS every morning. Like that was first. I've probably told this story before. I don't know what a cartoon, but I don't care. There were times where because of like some snowstorm, we had to make up school days during the school year. So we had to have like first grade on a Saturday a couple times, and they let us watch TV in like for just 30 minutes in the class. And I was very much like, I remember being very angry that any kid wouldn't want to watch Muppet Babies, the clearly best show on Saturday morning.
What was the competition again for this?
Like the Bugs Bunny and Tweety show.
I mean, those will always exist.
Even as a child, I was a highly critical of media kid to be like, why would you people watch this bad thing? There's better things.
Did you filibuster until you got your way?
No, I think I was sat down by my teacher and told
Oh.
to stop whining.
They have a really good Defunctland video about the making of Muppet Babies
It's
recently.
really great.
Yeah.
I watched that. I'm really loving that whole Henson set. But so anyway, ABC's Saturday mornings prior to 1997, they were anchored by reliable hits that were mostly just either licensed Frizz Freeling era Looney Tunes, the Bugs and Tweety show. Yeah.
Thumbs down to that.
Those are my least favorites of all.
I mean,
the
he's still a
reruns.
genius masterpiece worker guy, but not my favorite of all the geniuses over there.
And also the Winnie the Pooh Adventure Show, which,
Oh.
as we said before, is all anime.
Good fan of that. I like that. I did watch that. Yeah.
The real Ghostbusters that then turned into Slimer and in much lower font, the Ghostbusters.
Oh, you know what? I'll take it back. ABC was my choice before Fox Kids because it was Winnie the Pooh, Real Ghostbusters, Beetlejuice was also a cartoon on there too.
And they had exclusive episodes of Disney afternoon shows, like
Yeah.
Darkwing Duck episodes you'd only see on there.
Yeah, before they became part of the syndication package the next year, I noticed.
Well, that was but that was ABC was always working with Disney
Yeah.
anyway. Though there was a time when like CBS had some Disney shows.
Yeah.
Like they'd have Little Mermaid on CBS.
Yeah, CBS had Little Mermaid, and also they got the exclusive Aladdin Saturday morning cartoons
Right,
too,
yeah.
which seemed odd to me, but those were fun. Those were fun cartoons.
I mean, CBS, I guess it sounds like CBS only wanted the movie ones.
yeah, they were right to do that.
But yeah, so in 1995, Disney purchased ABC, and they were slowly making the Saturday mornings more and more Disney. They dumped all those old shows, which like by 95, it's time to get rid of Ghostbusters anyway. Like children don't know who Slimer is anymore. Though the Winnie the Pooh shows continued to rerun. And then Bugs Bunny and Tweety, of course, that's going to go away. Like and Warner's not going to keep licensing it. They want Bugs Bunny cartoons to be on Kids WB. So 1997, though, they're trying to figure out what Disney/ABC wants it to be because they are losing bad to Kids WB. Meanwhile, in the Kids WB world, executive producer on Animaniacs and Pinky and the Brain, writer Peter Hastings,
Oh, yeah.
he quits out of anger of what's happening to the direction of both those series. You said they did that on our Pinky and the Brain one. You mentioned they did a whole episode of pretty much saying, don't change this to Elmira and the Brain.
Yeah, yeah.
He wrote that. That was Hastings.
And there were
Like,
some other brain drain from WB, like Paul Rugg, who created Freakazoid and was the voice of Freakazoid. He was also doing stuff for One Saturday Morning, including hosting live action interstitials as like a scientist guy or
Manny
something.
the Uncanny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, well, that's the secret of One Saturday Morning is that at least in the first couple years, Peter Hastings just stole whoever he could from Kids WB. But that's always what happens. Whenever it's successful, like that's why after the first season of Batman, half the Batman people got hired away. They worked on Gargoyles, for instance. But yeah, so Peter Hastings quits Kids WB, goes to ABC and Disney, and pitches a new idea. instead of just having a block of shows that's Saturday morning, they would present in the prime hours of Saturday morning a 2-hour block called One Saturday Morning that would be heavily promoted as like, kids, Saturday's the best day, isn't it? And this is the place to be on Saturday. This is the one Saturday morning, and it's going to be such a fun time. Boy, oh boy. And it was like Kids WB definitely pushed itself as like, oh, it's Saturday morning with Kids WB. Like, that's fun. But they never made like a digital place, like a fictional location that at all.
I guess they kind of had the Warner Brothers lots.
Yeah, I
that
guess
they would like
so,
superimpose
yeah.
characters into.
No, okay, I take that back.
Yeah.
Then. But
sorry, I just remembered that.
But I think okay. Then One Saturday Morning took it a whole extra level.
Yeah,
of,
there
like,
was a way more of an established framing device because on WB, like even the sitcoms would have bumpers where like the sister girls would be dancing in front of the water tower or whatever, you know.
It was all about that damn water tower.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, though it went longer than 2 hours, specifically those 2 hours of content were One Saturday Morning. And it was programmed differently, too, in that they had 3 main shows that were One Saturday Morning in the first year, but they were mixed up within the 2 hours. It wasn't that you'd show up at, 9 and see an episode and then 9:30 another episode. It was more that at 9 o'clock it would start, you'd see one Doug, and then you'd see, like, The Great Minds Think for Themselves, hosted by Robin Williams
okay.
Genie, and then you'd see a Pepper Ann, and then you'd see Manny the Uncanny Thing, and then you'd see some other like host of a segment, and all these kind of like quasi-interactive elements to it, like that. They wanted it to be more of like a party atmosphere than just here's 3 shows in a row.
I forgot about the kind of random approach they did.
Yeah,
completely.
it was really scattershot, but I think it was an interesting idea that they would. I think they thought they'd keep people's attention the whole time if they're like, well, you never know when Recess is going to have their next episode. Better keep watching.
I think that's why I saw a lot of these because I would just turn it on out of curiosity, and I was getting too old for Saturday morning cartoons. So I guess I'm not now, but at the time I thought I was, and I would catch like at least 3 or 4 of these different shows.
Yeah,
at different times.
Me too. That's how the originals were Recess, Doug, and Disney's brand spanking new Doug, Disney's Recess, and Disney's Pepper Ann. Have to be let you know they're Disney.
I think Pepper Ann is the best one.
I think so too.
Yeah, it's girl Doug, but we needed a female Doug perspective in the world.
And I like her design. Like she's more fun of a dork.
Yeah.
Than Doug is just so plain. He's just the most plain vanilla herb there ever was. And One Saturday Morning was off to a good start, but Kids WB was still pretty much beating it. They also had on the show for their educational content, in the second year, I believe it was, or maybe third, they got Science Court, the Squiggle Vision show.
That's right.
Which by its second year, they simply called it Squiggle Vision. And it's really worth looking up because it is a teaching you things show, but it is totally written the same as Home Movies and Dr. Cat.
I love hearing H. John Benjamin talk to me about, the gravitational fields of the Earth.
or how oxygen works.
Yeah.
And so, by 1999, though, the conceit was getting pulled apart and retooled quite a lot. The interstitials were keep getting cut down more. It used to be 22 minutes of interstitials. Then it went down to 11, and they just shoved another episode of Recess in there. Another thing that wasn't helping in 1999 was Pokemon.
Oh, no.
The unbeatable show of Pokemon was killing them on Kids WB. Plus, there was also Digimon was moving up the ranks in Pokemon. Like, it was like a neutron bomb drop on Saturday mornings. It was after, I'd say maybe Power Rangers was slightly a bigger deal when it was at its peak, but only just.
Yeah.
And both are cheap, non-union dubs of Japanese things.
That other people made for you.
Yes.
Yeah, I think out of all these shows that we talked about, I think Recess was the clear winner in terms of popularity and just pure success because it got a movie. Mm-hmm. And oddly enough, Teacher's Pet got a movie.
Yeah.
I don't know how that happened. I don't think it was a popular show. It's a very cool looking show. And I'm sure the movie is fun to look at, but I never recall anyone ever talking about Teacher's Pet.
I wonder if it's because Nathan Lane was the star of it.
Yeah.
I think like that pushed it out more. Langdale came on in 1999 as they're trying to retool One Saturday Morning even more to get something that can beat Pokemon. And I think Langdale found a niche in the series he the first series he would create by himself by seeing that Doug, Pepper Ann, and Recess were all mostly set at school days. So he was going to do a show that would only take place every episode over just 3 days, and it would all be after the school days. And also the show Langdale built was a very millennial group of kids too, I would say, before we had the term for it.
Oh yeah, these guys are pure millennials. Like we're technically millennials. We have like maybe 20% of our bodies in the world of Gen X, but these are just pure uncut millennials.
Hyper millennials.
Yeah.
And I got to give it to Langdale. I think he really understood what kids then were like. Like this touched it even more. You know, Doug definitely feels like a kid from the 50s put into 1990.
Yeah, it's the stories of the creator's childhood filtered through the 90s for real. Yeah.
I wonder if Langdale even had kids then or at all, because it doesn't feel it feels more in touch and not parental in that way. But the show is really just the 4 core characters. You got Tino, a sarcastic boy with a vegan single mom,
Played by Max Goof.
Jason Marsden. Yes,
Pitched up a bit. These guys are all kind of pitched up a little bit, aren't they?
I mean, really pitched up is Phil Lamar.
yeah.
Like
He's unrecognizable, but it does not sound like a chipmunk or anything.
Yes, and Phil Lamar, he plays Carver, who is the wackier kid. He's interested in being famous, and he likes pizza and has bad handwriting, and but he's fun. Carver's fun. And then you got Lore, the tomboy girl of the group, who is raised with a ton of annoying brothers, so that's why she's a total tomboy.
Because she's Irish.
And then we've got Tish, the nerd of the group, who's raised by Greek immigrants. They get a few jokes out of
They're
that.
like Lithuanian.
Lithuanian, yeah.
Jewish Lithuanian people.
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. I don't know if that's like a Klasky Chupo kind of touch.
They're definitely coming. There's people who worked at Klasky Chupo coming out of that.
And they were like Eastern Russian immigrants, I'm guessing, too.
Yeah. Well, so in Tish, she's voiced by Kath Soucie, Laura by Gray Griffin. So it's a strong voice cast, though no like celebrities. Like Earthworm Jim had Dan Castellaneta, a big star among voice actors. These are more just like a bunch of Disney regulars who are great, but they're just in everything.
Yeah, a ton of veterans.
Yeah, and same with most of the supporting people in it too. And the kids would have adventures that are about being active and fun in a very SoCal, beach environment. And while down to earth, the kids had Ferris Bueller type powers to pause things and talk to the audience.
There was a lot of talking to the camera. I don't know why, but like I would look at this show and also Rocket Power, which is a very different show, but it was also like kind of the same look where it's like people with very wide heads and far apart eyes and like a beach kind of Santa Monica, San Diego kind of atmosphere.
Rollerblading around.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the far apart eyes was the biggest one to me. Like, man, those eyes are really, you have giant nose bridges, guys. But
not quite as grotesque as Klasky Chupo, but it's still kind of, I think it is because Klasky Chupo was #1 in kids entertainment at this time. I think they're just trying to make things look a little more like it to get people's attention.
No, in '99, like Klasky Chupo was like 4 or 5 different shows on Nickelodeon at the time.
Something like that, yeah.
Rugrats, Ah Real Monsters,
Wild Thornberries,
Rocket Power, As Told by Ginger's coming soon. Like it's a busy time for Klasky Chupo, so why not rip them off? Like, I mean, that's why Recess existed, because they hired away the co-creator of Rugrats to make that show.
Yeah, I mean, technically he left because he hated working on the show with Klasky and Chupo, but yeah, he's the secret magic of Rugrats.
He was also the guy. Guys should listen to our whole interview with David Silverman.
That's right.
But there's a joke about him also having disagreements with Matt Groening, secreted away in one of the shorts too.
Paul Germain, right?
Yeah, Paul Germain. Yeah, that was David Silverman drew in a gag of Matt Groening strangling Paul Germain in arguments on the show.
I forgot about his early Simpsons ties. That's great. Yeah.
But yes, Langdale staffed the show with many writers he'd work with on future projects, though none of them who really went on to like big deals. I'll talk a little bit about just the 2 people who wrote these episodes later. Meanwhile, the animation was headed by series director, who was also mostly credited as director on most episodes, Steve Lyons, who mainly worked in the Disney Afternoon world as well as live action features he did art design for, including his biggest one was Beyond Thunderdome. He worked as an artist on that. And then overseas production was handled by Disney regulars Wang in Korea. So when the show premiered, it was actually a bit of a surprise hit on March 4th, 2000, when it first showed up. It was as One Saturday Morning was transitioning away almost entirely from the original premise. By the fall of 2000, there would just be no more interstitials. Sorry, Manny the Uncanny. When I saw those, I was like, that's Freakazoid. Oh my God, it's Freakazoid right here.
That's kind of why I was watching it, because they got the Freakazoid seal of approval.
Everybody should follow Paul Rugg on Twitter. He is so funny. Did you see that video he did of spit takes?
No, but I have his Instagram. I think his Twitter just links to his Instagram videos, or there's cross posts. But yeah, Twitter and Instagram, Paul Rugg is great.
He had this great bit of him teaching a comedy class, and he says, "All right, guys, it's time for your final spit takes." And it is a line of people who all do spit takes to spit water in his face
I have to
the
see this
entire
now.
time. And the funniest one is look, I'm not spoiling it. Watch it. Just look it up for Paul Rugg. It's very funny.
I think more people watched his Chihuahua chew on his hand than anything he'd ever done in the history of his life.
I mean,
you might have seen that video if you're listening at home. If you do, you know what I'm talking about.
But you wouldn't know it's the voice of Freakazoid.
Yeah. The second I watched it, I'm like, that's Paul Rugg. Why is everyone linking to this Facebook video? Do you know who this is?
But yes, as Disney One Saturday Morning was transitioning, Weekenders was such a huge hit that ABC was touting in Variety in May 5th that their show was a Pokemon killer.
Wow.
Because Weekenders ran against Pokemon in April 2000 and got better ratings than Pokemon. Now, by 2000 in April, it's not to say Pokemon was certainly still very popular, but the fad was lowered a bit by 2000.
It was not early 1999 popular.
Yes. Yeah. But still, beating Pokemon in head-to-head competition, pretty impressive for a show that had premiered 2 months ago.
I had no idea this show was this popular.
No, me neither. I was shocked to see. That was one of the few things that came up in my search for Weekenders was just this basically press release to Variety from ABC about their success. But why wouldn't you? You'd, of course, brag about that. You beat Pokemon. And so the Weekenders was one of ABC's Saturday Morning's last big hits in the early 2000s before they stopped using the branding in 2002. And then by the time Weekenders ended, as it burned bright for a very short amount of time, by the time it ended, the death of One Saturday Morning came as pretty much all Saturday morning programming was dying on network because kids were just watching SpongeBob. You know, they don't need to. Cable proliferation had increased so much that killed off Saturday mornings because kids just watch SpongeBob on Nick instead.
That is true. I mean, we were still in the early days of SpongeBob becoming a phenomenon, but by 2002, it would be the most important cartoon on television.
And when we were watching network Saturday mornings, to see first run original stuff, Saturday mornings had that exclusive because Nick wasn't investing or Cartoon Network wasn't investing in original programming all that much. But by 2000, 2001, they'd all built up such a catalog of original productions and were actually spending the money on it that Saturday mornings didn't seem as special. Plus, the networks were spending a lot less, partially thanks to Pokemon showing you should just import Japanese shows and pay people a lot less money.
And that's all Fox Kids became for a long time.
4Kids took it over.
Yeah.
You know? They
Oh, God. Did they ever? They destroyed what could have been a phenomenon with One Piece. I'm sorry. They just ruined that show.
They totally goofed. But 4Kids was right to have faith in themselves. We sold Pokemon to America. We can sell this show to America. They felt the same way about, they thought they could sell Ultimate Muscle to America too.
Yeah, that's
they
true.
They tried really hard, which, when there's the Nazi in the show, you just don't,
God.
You can't really do that.
But whenever I try to get someone into One Piece, which I love, by the way, we did a special about it last year, I have to explain to them, it's not the thing you saw on Fox 15 years ago.
Forget that.
Yeah.
I do ironically like that song, though.
Oh, yeah.
One Piece, it's the name of the treasure and the grand line.
It's bad in a fun way. And I enjoy how hard they worked on sanitizing that show.
That seems like an even tougher job than sanitizing DBZ.
When one character is never not smoking a cigarette, and one villain just has 2 cigars in his mouth at all times.
And there's some chesty ladies out there too, right?
Yes, yes.
But anyway, Weekenders, it got 39 half hours. that mainly aired between March 2000 and December 2001, with a handful of the fourth season that were really just 5 episodes that they squeaked out about 2 years later in 03 and 04. The final episode aired in February 2004.
Wow.
And it was a double-length episode that was kind of a payoff to a bunch of stuff because Tino, this was another thing that made the show feel very late 90s, in that Tino was the son of a single mom who was divorced. Like the reality of divorce was being, accepted by the show. And the final episode is about him meeting his dad for the first time in 8 years.
Oh, wow.
And, his dad kind of is a disappointment, but he eventually, his dad learns like, oh yeah, I shouldn't have fun all the time. Maybe I should hang out with my son a little bit. Like it was a touching last episode.
Okay.
I watched. It was cute, but yeah, that was February 04. So they just kind of sit on that episode for like 2.5 years before they
Weird.
finally finish it. Weekenders lived on in constant reruns on Toon Disney until about the early 2010s. In 2013, it got a very limited DVD release in the Lame Disney Movie Club, which is where they put like the DuckTales movie as well.
Yeah. So you had to belong to it to have the right to buy a DVD.
Yeah, to buy featureless DVDs of Weekenders content.
Just burning the CDRs.
And now it's not anywhere. You can't watch it. I mean, you obviously, me and Bob watched it.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, if you look for it online, it's easy to find. But I hate that like Toon Disney was the last place that a lot of shows went before Purgatory, where we don't know yet, and every conversation we have will become dated eventually. But we don't know what will be on Disney Plus, and we're hoping that they don't neglect their just treasury of TV animation, which is there's just so much of it, and they could easily just throw it on there.
like literally 1,000 hours of content right there, and 1,000 hours of content that people have happy memories of that they would pay to be able to watch. And yeah, instead we had to watch like a VHS rip of a Canadian airing of it today, like that.
So thank you to Kiss Anime for all of your work. They're preserving this stuff.
And all we have to do is see ads for video games whose names I will not
Yeah,
say.
I'm glad you're about to say it. I'm glad
No,
you did.
I'm not saying it.
Hey, just go there and watch it. You'll get plenty of ads for that fine game.
Sea Wars, it's called. Anyway, so after the end of Weekenders, Langdale would move on to create another Disney series not too long after, Dave the Barbarian, the Disney Disney Channel show that I didn't watch 1 second of, but it looks cute and all. Like, it looks fine. Since Dave the Barbarian, Langdale has stayed very busy in the animation world. He has been like a showrunner or lead writer on animated shows like the adaptations of DreamWorks' Puss in Boots and Kung Fu Panda. He's worked on a number of Scooby-Doo direct-to-video things, alongside his wife Candy in some cases. And most curious of all, a lot of like Mexican productions in animation. He worked on the Nickelodeon show El Tigre, not the indie band, but it was a Mexican wrestler show.
Yeah,
If you partially remember that.
I think I might have watched. I think I watched Mucha Lucha, which was a different show,
Okay.
a different Mexican wrestling show.
But he's worked on a surprising number of Mexican productions, including, did you know that there's not one, but 2 CGI Top Cat films?
Oh yeah, Top Cat is extremely popular in Latin America, correct?
Yeah. So there's 2 Top Cat films that are Mexican Indian productions, like not made in America. Though they have been released here, but they were not made first for America. And Langdale worked on the second of those, which is actually a prequel movie in America called Top Cat Begins.
Oh, I was going to make that joke. That was going to be the joke about the title, but it's real?
It's really the name.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what, like a character that's based on like what, Phil Silvers?
Yeah, a 70-year-old show
Wow.
it's based on. And yeah, I never loved Top Cat when I was a kid, I have to say. He was low on my list of Hanna-Barbera shows I'd watch.
I don't think I watched a lot of Hanna-Barbera. I don't think I've ever seen a Top Cat cartoon.
He was just I don't like a scheming main character. I'm like, you're not nice. You're always scheming and tricking people. Boo.
He was a trickster god.
Though then again, as a trickster, he was messing with cops. So now I kind of like him, actually.
Oh, wow.
But
He
yes,
was Antifa. Top Cat was Antifa.
him and Choo Choo were burning trash cans. But yeah, so that's what Langdale's been up to. The Weekenders, there honestly isn't much of a legacy to it. It just really, it's crazy to think that for a brief time, it had higher ratings than Pokemon, and now nobody remembers it. It
And
just
it's available on no service, on no Amazon, iTunes, nothing.
nowhere.
Man.
At least in America, nowhere. Like,
Jesus.
yeah, you can't even purchase digital episodes like on iTunes or Amazon. Like on Amazon, you could pay $35 for the Disney Club Movie Club DVD if you really wanted to. At least they got all their episodes out on DVD. Like I would have figured they'd be in a Darkwing situation of not releasing all the episodes on DVD.
Yeah, I think maybe by the time they released it, they knew like we can't do volumes anymore. Just get it all out at once.
But I mean, I think the show is important to, or beloved by the kids it was really meant for. Not
We're now 30.
Yeah, not 16-year-olds when like at my age when I first started watching it. I did like watching this because it's kind of a time capsule of the weird period that is directly before and after 9/11.
I was just thinking about that actually because I was thinking about Futurama for some reason, and we talk a bit about the end of history on this show sometimes, or just on podcasts where just the idea that it's like we're in the late 90s, everything is figured out, and everything is happy and will be happy forever, and who knows what the future will hold, but it'll be good things. And I was thinking about Futurama. The hook for Futurama was like, of course we know the future would be good, but what if it was bad? Like I think that is the premise of Futurama. Like we all forgot about because we are just living in the bad future now.
Yeah, and I think too of the movie Josie and the Pussycats, which I really, really love. It's such a funny movie. It's all about consumption, but it's also about like the peak of consumption and just the incredible emptiness of everything in the just days before 9/11 world we were living in. And I think Weekenders kind of captures that too. Just like, I'm not worried about stuff. Everything's fine. The
it'll all
future's
work out.
mine. Yeah, everything will be cool. We haven't had, it's the kind of effervescence you get when the country hasn't been at war for like 8 years. I mean, obviously we were bombing people. In the
Oh yeah,
90s,
all our
sure.
wars are secret back then. So
But it wasn't a forever war for American soldiers. Like it wasn't all in our face that like, no, it's war now. Like, now we've been living with that for almost 20 years, and it's not fun.
nope.
But you know what is fun? Weekenders.
Yay.
And when we come back, we're going to get right in that mindset of 5 days after 9/11 with our chat about the episode Cry / The Perfect Son.
I'm living for the weekend. I'm living for the weekend. Hey!
Hey, hang around. There's more Weekenders coming up. Learning together. Tino here from the Weekenders. My friends and I are really getting into reading. We found the trick is finding a subject you really care about and picking up a book on it. Whether it's art, music, making movies, when you like what you're reading, you start reading more and more. And if you're anything like Lore, somebody get me more books! The results could be monstrous. Well, I've got to get back to my book on building supersonic paper airplanes. Get your own books and read. Later days.
When you read together, you're learning together. A message about getting involved from Toon Disney.
Hey, it's Henry. Welcome to the break. And boy, I could go for some pizza bite right about now.
Hey, it's Bob, and I'm hardly working for the weekend because it is the weekend. It's
Yes,
Saturday.
We are recording this on the weekend, and we hope you guys are enjoying this week's episode of What a Cartoon, brought to you by premium patron Royce A. Murray. Thanks for picking out the Weekenders. And we're supported by patrons like Royce and so many others at patreon.com/Talking Simpsons that makes doing What a Cartoon, Talking Simpsons, and so many other podcasts possible.
That's true. If you go to patreon.com/Talking Simpsons and sign up at the $5 level, you'll get every episode of this podcast and Talking Simpsons 1 week ahead of time and ad-free. And you'll also get access to all of our mini-series, including the most recent one, Talk King of the Hill, a 13-episode exploration of the first 13 episodes of King of the Hill. Included with that $5 access includes end-of-season wrap-ups, community podcasts every month, deleted scene specials, and just any kind of fun extra podcast we want to do. And if you sign up today, you'll have access to everything we've done for the first 2 years of our Patreon. We're currently just entering our 3rd year, so you'll have access to everything we've done up to that point for just $5 a month.
And if you wanted to go up to the premium level and get even more exclusive Patreon content, once a month, me and Bob do the What a Cartoon Movie podcast that's only available for our $10 Patreon subscribers. Those folks get to hear me and Bob chat for between 3 and 4 hours about a different animated feature film. June's was Tiny Toon Adventures, How I Spent My Vacation, the Summerific direct-to-video classic, and July is going to have an even better one. And if you signed up now, you could hear the July one, the June one, and all of our previous ones too, which are Batman Mask of the Phantasm, Kiki's Delivery Service, Akira, A Goofy Movie, The Secret of Nim, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. So much content right there for you. Only if you sign up at the $10 level or bring up your $5 pledge to $10 at patreon.com/TalkingSimpsons.
And if you sign up, you'll get a nice little code you can drop into any player of your choice. Whatever you use to listen to podcasts, you can fit our bonus podcast in alongside your podcasting lifestyle, or you can just use the Patreon app, which is very useful and handy and is really improved a lot over time. So there are very easy ways to access this bonus content that don't involve like downloading a file, putting it on Dropbox, or doing any kind of weird tech magic. You just subscribe to the RSS feed or use the Patreon app. It's really easy.
So simple. So please check all those things out. And now let's get back to the rest of this episode as we chill with the Weekenders.
We're back. Dude, what stinks in here?
Everybody's running and the world it gets so crazy. People work so hard, there's no time to be lazy. The weekend comes, I'm down with that. Grab your ball, grab your bat, head to the beach, grab some brains. Better hurry up, just got 2 days. Playing games, hanging out, roller coaster, there's no doubt. Go to the mall, lot of fun, pizza run. It's time for all of us to break it on out. Hey, that's what the weekend's all about. Best buzz hanging strong, best friends can do no wrong. Just 2 days, we need more video games, I'll beat your score. Watch cartoons on TV, drink that frosty sugar freeze. That's what we like to do. Come on, y'all, I'll talk to you. Oh, I'm living for the weekend. I'm living for the weekend. Hey!
Okay, we are back for the episode's Cry and The Perfect Son, which, boy, having Cry right after 9/11, that's some interesting
Boy, a
timing.
lot of kids were crying about things.
And yes, the writers for these 2 episodes were Brian Palermo and Peter Gaffney, respectively. Brian mainly works as an actor in small roles. Like, if you see him, he's like Doctor in this TV show, blank in this. Like, he barely writes television, honestly. He only has like about 4 or 5 credits to it, but this is one of them. Meanwhile, Peter Gaffney, quite a career.
Oh, yeah.
Still writing to this day and did a stint on The Simpsons.
I saw some Simpsons stuff on his resume.
Yeah, from 06 to 11, like he worked on there. And before you ask, yes, he is a Harvard alum and worked at the Lampoon. So quite a man. I wonder how that worked out.
That's your getting to the Simpsons free card, that diploma.
These pair of episodes were part of the 3rd season of production, and they one Saturday morning was just getting going in 2001 before the ugliness. I mean, also like Adult Swim had just premiered as well.
Oh boy, what a fall!
Yeah,
and Grand Theft Auto 3 was around the corner.
Yeah, boy, and Metal Gear Solid 2.
Yeah, Silent Hill 2.
Yeah.
2001 had a lot of good things happening in it too.
I'm trying to think of all the things that 9/11 changed too. Like Futurama had to change their opening. I remember that.
Oh yeah, no more crashing into the building. Yeah.
Yeah. AI had to get rid of those towers. Anyway,
They changed the name of Lord of the Rings to the 2 tall things.
They had the bravery to keep. Actually, yeah.
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings came out like Fellowship came out like 2 months afterwards, and the perfect timing. We're all like, yes, please. I want to be in a fantasy world right now.
I'm sure I told this story before, really, really quick. I know I told this before, so I'm sorry, but I was working in a GameStop, then software, etc. in the next year too. I worked this year and the next year, and some guy asked me when a game came out. I think it was Castlevania Harmony of Dissonance. And I looked at my computer and I was like, "Oh, September 11th," and he just was like, "I can't believe they released a game on that day." Like, yeah, guess what? They want your money still.
Yeah, they haven't made it a national holiday. They never did.
They never will.
No, I mean,
We are rolling back all the national holidays so no one ever has a chance to stop working.
I mean, when Bush said it himself, then I'm just like, no, get to buying things.
Yeah.
Don't be sad.
Anyway, we'll stop talking about September 11th. I'm sorry.
I really like the concept of the first half of this episode, the cry. It's really interesting how it challenges the BS view of what like masculinity is, you know?
Yeah, although I was surprised to see all of his friends were also making fun of him.
Well, look, it's 2001. Nobody's
Yeah.
that evolved yet. And they wanted to have the fun of like mocking him, but also celebrating it too. And I mean, it also plugs into the idea of like, oh, there's single mothers training their boys to be sissies without
Yeah.
a man in their life, like, which the show does seem to actually kind of believe, but doesn't say it's a bad thing.
I noticed that both of these episodes end with adults lying to children to solve the problems and save the
Right,
day.
yeah. At least in one of the cases, the kid knows, like, oh, I'm being lied to.
Yeah,
But
I did
it's
like
cool.
that.
In this case, in this one, though, Tino gets lied to and is just like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
He just accepts the lie. And the opening theme song is sung and co-written by the Wayne Brady.
And he was singing into all of our hearts on Whose Line Is It Anyway? The American version, which I didn't really watch.
Nah, I watched a bit of it. I did. It was Drew Carey was a bit too aggressive in that. I'm like, stand back, Drew. You're a good stand-up. You're not a improv actor like you.
Yeah, I watched a ton of the British version on Comedy Central because
Oh, a
what else are you
million
going to do in the
times,
summer?
yeah.
But I love how the host of that just had no affect. For Drew Carey had too many emotions, including like joy and laughter.
And yeah, when they did Whose Line, they got Ryan Stiles and Colin Mockery. I think it's the reason they did it because Ryan Stiles was on the Drew Carey show. So I think Ryan was maybe pushing for him to have a version of that on ABC. And so they had back many of the best people on Whose Line because there weren't many. I mean, there were some Brits on Whose Line, but it actually was more Canadians.
Yeah, it
on
really was. Yeah.
And so on this one, it was guys from the BBC Whose Line, and then Wayne Brady. And Wayne Brady just had like so much energy, and he did such a song and dance. And Dave Chappelle made fun of him as not a black guy, but then and then Bill Maher ripped that off in a racist fashion, like because Bill Maher sucks.
For as kind of like corny as Wayne Brady is, that he will even own up to.
Yeah.
Musical improv seems like the hardest kind of improv, and he was always so good at it.
I always wonder how much was truly improv
You know
on
what?
that show.
I think we were being lied to by adults with Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Yeah, but Wayne Brady was a very likable, fun guy. He'd sing about, putting Nescafe in your coffee or whatever. Coffee Mate, was that the one he sung?
Oh, I
for?
forget, but it doesn't really even sound like him on this intro, though I don't
No.
really know what Wayne Brady sounds like anymore.
I guess to cool kids who were constantly watching Chappelle's show, they would quote all of his lines from
Yeah.
his Chappelle Show sketch where it turns into just a lengthy Training Day parody. Anyway, no, Wayne Brady, I give him a thumbs up, especially that he said he beat the shit out of Bill Maher. Like that, I mean, I'm pro that
Yeah,
for sure.
in general, I am.
Like get to it, Wayne Brady. I'm still waiting. You promised it would happen. But anyway, Wayne Brady was a favorite son of ABC in 2000 when the show premiered. So getting Wayne Brady to sing it like that is kind of a big deal for them. Like there weren't a lot of star-studded people other than Nathan Lane on Teacher's Pet. The shows weren't really star-driven on one Saturday morning. And the OP really sets up the characters really cool. You get to see that like Tish is a vegetarian and that, these kids do a bunch of fun things. They even play pool. How scandalous.
It's pretty good, although there's a lot of good veggie dogs now. She's eating a carrot on a hot dog bun. Not going to work out.
Well, the show is full of, as you'll see in this episode, full of jokes that being a vegetarian means eating garbage. Like nothing could possibly taste good if you're a vegetarian.
There's a very good episode of the podcast Citations Needed about that recently.
Yes, that's
about
right.
vegetarianism in the media. Check it out, everybody.
But hey, I learned from South Park that it turns you into a literal vagina. So I'm not gonna stop eating meat, buddy.
What a good message.
But when I saw this opening at 16, though, I did think like, man, these kids do too much. I wouldn't want to do this stuff on my weekend.
My weekender show would be me inside playing like a JRPG.
But that's a boring television
Yeah.
show. Although then again, that's what television shows are now for kids. Twitch,
Watching someone play a video game, yeah.
Let me quick aside. Disney Channel now, they just air that. Like we stayed at a Disney resort recently, me and my husband, and when we turned on the TV, like it's mostly Disney channels. And when we went to the Disney Channel, it was popular, friendly streamers just playing a game for 5 minutes. And in a row, it was like clearly Disney sees that it's big and they're trying to figure out how to incorporate that into their machine.
It's pretty smart. And by the way, I'm not above watching people play video games. I just went to Summer Games Done Quick where you watch speedrunners play video games.
You flew to the Midwest just to see it.
It was great. It was great.
Now also as an adult, I feel like seeing these kids in the OP and across the show is they have no parental supervision, which just feels like that's not how children are raised now. I don't know.
Yeah, I was wondering, is this like just what city life was like if you were a kid?
Maybe. But I mean, also the show's not fun if they need their parents to drive them around everywhere.
Yeah.
So
I feel like whatever this boardwalk is that they live near is very close.
Yeah, I gotta watch. Like, man, I was fucking jealous seeing these kids there. Like in my teen years of. Oh, I live in like suburban Florida. Can't go to the damn beach whenever I feel like
Takes
it.
you 20 minutes to drive to the grocery store.
But yes, the episode opens with Tino hiding in the bushes. There's like right from the start of this episode, there's a Ferris Bueller pause. Let me talk to the audience kind of thing. I like the visual motif that happens when he does that. Is everything turns gray around him. That's when reality stops. And that's where he had the intro line where he says that he's got to hide from the world forever. I like that a bunch of other humiliated children are hiding in the bushes next to him. It does also feel to me a little like a Doug episode of just like, my life is over kind of Doug stance.
I guess it's more of a realistic overreaction to like Doug freaking out about like stepping on gum or whatever his problem was that week.
But what made Tino cry?
In English class, we were watching that Romeo and Juliet play, and, well, take a look. I was doing fine. I even made it through Romeo taking the poison. But when Juliet went down too, something inside just turned on the faucets.
Let me die.
Have you seen this play? Everyone dies. There ought to be a law against showing stuff that sad in class. But it got even sadder.
Hey! Tonatini's crying!
In case you're wondering, my life is officially over.
Tino, there. I think it's great that you appreciate Shakespeare enough to publicly disgrace yourself.
I bet you'd like to rephrase that.
Yep.
Thanks, Tino. You made such a goon of yourself today that everyone forgot the time I wet myself in PE.
Hey, Tonatini, can you come to my house? My mom has to water her flowers.
Some girls like mushy boys, Tino. Yeah, maybe later we can all play with your dollies.
Why? Do I just know I'll still be able to hear that laughter when I'm 50?
I mean, he even gets bullied by cute girls. The worst bullying you can get in middle school.
The most savage.
Well, because it's also mixed with sexual, like, oh, are they saying they like me? Oh, no, they're saying they hate me too. But after tricking me with sexuality.
I think you're cute, Homer Simpson. If I had to guess, they're probably watching the 1968 Romeo and Juliet movie because all kids watch that. I don't know if they still do, but I mean, it was the one place to see nudity, and it was underage nudity, but you were also underage. And by the way,
see, our teachers cut that out.
Oh, really?
We didn't get to watch it.
My teacher was like, "Oh, whatever, who cares? Like, you're old enough." But from what I remember, like the director was in love with that child.
Oh yeah.
And I think they became like a couple or something.
Wasn't it an Italian production or something?
Yeah.
So it's a European sensibility there.
And I mean, when I was watching that as a teenager, I was like, Juliet is a smoking hot babe.
Sure.
Yeah.
When you were the correct age
I was
to
the
have
correct
those
age. I don't think that
feelings.
anymore.
I was thinking of the Zeffirelli film too, because I watched that. I think it's interesting in general that thinking back on it in American schools, then you couldn't show a new film that was about killing each other, like that much death of teens or whatever. But if it's Shakespeare, you're like, oh yeah, Caesar gets stabbed to death by all of his fellow senators. Like they stab, just stab. You got to hear all about that in class.
Although I don't know what Romeo and Juliet is supposed to teach children. It's just like about a misunderstanding that leads to suicide.
I guess it's an anti-suicide message in that way. I'm just like, hey, check that's actually a dead person.
Is it? Because it's like if you do kill yourself, you'll be remembered by one of the greatest works known to man.
I suppose it literally romanticizes it. Yeah.
Yes, it does. Anyways.
You know what? Kids maybe shouldn't be seeing Romeo and Juliet. I'm up for censorship now of all Shakespeare.
Shut it down.
Shakespeare, you're
He's canceled.
We both came to the same.
That's sad.
Did you ever cry in class? I don't think I ever.
Oh,
did.
I
don't know.
This is not me stealing from something that happened on The Simpsons, but I believe so. Charlotte's Web is like the Babby's first introduction to death story, where it's just like, okay, kids, death is real, and you'll experience it at some point. People you know will die, and I think the entire class was choked up during the reading of Charlotte's Web, like when Charlotte died, which also happens on The Simpsons. But it was like the basically child's guide to death. story.
You know, I think by middle school I maybe like had a little sniffles in class, but never full cry. Now I did throw up in class once, but
That's like crying out of your mouth.
and it was on my birthday too. It was quite a fun birthday. I always wondered, you know, this line actually made me think like, do the kids I went to school with just remember me as the kid who threw up in class? Like that was but that was like my Georgia school, so I completely fell out of contact with all those people after age 10.
There's a really, really good Onion headline about how a group of friends was brought closer together by something you did in public stupidly, and they'll remember it forever.
I also do remember the relief that guy has about like, oh, somebody else did something more laughable than me. Everyone's forgetting the time I peed my pants or whatever. That's all you can count on as a bullied kid in school of just like, can somebody else be the victim now?
Is there a lower rung?
Please. Then we get to our first pizza of the episode, which that was the kind of couch gag of the show. There were many running gags in Weekenders. I think the best one was the pizza restaurant. It was always different each week. They never had a set theme.
I did like the basically 3D printed pizza, but it's sort of like an inkjet printer.
Yeah.
Very cute. I wonder, there's got to be 3D printed food now.
Yeah. Oh, there totally has to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, too, that it shows you how dated this is, that the concept of internet pizza, like, that's just the gag of, like, what if it's a web cafe with pizza?
I mean, I thought of the pizza tracker when I was seeing, like, the loading pizza, pizza circle on that computer screen.
I love that pizza tracker.
It's all a lie, by the way. There's a great expose about it.
No!
Yeah.
Oh,
my theory is the Noid hacked it. He's a virus now.
He's trying, he's being more effective that way. But yes, as they're all enjoying their digital pizza, all of his friends are comforting Tino about his tears.
Pay no attention to the smoking crater that is my life.
I gotta say, T, crying at a movie does make you seem kind of delicate.
You cried at the end of The Three Nitwits in Space.
What a kidder! Don't spread it around.
I'm sorry, Tino.
Thank you.
I mean, I'm sorry I didn't get to see it. I've never seen a boy cry.
You've got 13 brothers. You're saying none of them ever cry?
Not after they turn 5. And it's 12. No, right, 13. Come on, cry for me so I can see what it's like.
No way.
How about if I read you some poetry?
No.
What if I write some poetry?
No.
If I shoot this rubber band into your earlobe?
No. Okay, maybe. But pain tears don't count.
Don't pick on Tino. His newfound emotionalism is like the blossoming of a delicate flower.
Delicate flower. That does it.
Man, he is sensitive. How could anyone get upset about something as dumb as that?
The pizza's jammed.
No!
It says replace cheese cartridge.
Curse you, modern technology! Curse you!
Good one from Phil Lamar there.
Yeah, that was good. These kids are kind of idealized children in that they're not as cruel as real kids would be. Because I won't use all the words they would use, but I'm sure like, you're fucking gay.
Oh, you
gay
so
baby.
gay?
Yeah.
Oh, man, are you gay now? Where's your boyfriend, gay boy?
I wonder if that's still a thing kids call each other. It's got to be, right?
I gotta think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, kids are assholes in general. Like, so I think they'd say whatever they need to. I mean, maybe teachers are better policing that stuff. Of like, hey, don't you say that. But then again, when you're a little kid and you're told not to say fag, then aren't you more likely to say it? It's like I don't
think
know.
so. Yeah.
Some kids would be anyway.
If you have kids, let us know. What horrible shit are they saying?
What are they saying? I really like the character of Laura because they make her the jock of the group, but it's the one of the two girls. But she is like such a mega super tomboy, like with 13 brothers, and her
her
Laura's
famous.
interesting.
I think her family situation helps explain the character a lot, which is a nice touch.
Yeah. In all their cases, the family really explains who they are, which
that is
like.
true.
Yeah.
I guess we don't see a lot of Tish's family that's not imagined
Yes,
by another
yeah.
character. But yeah, I could see like Carver's family is sort of, they seem like a professional class family.
Yeah, which also leads to Carver being very high strung.
Yeah.
And, I mean, Carver's doing the classic boy tactic of prove how tough you are by dumping on the weaker boy. And say, like, I'm tougher than you.
Which
You're
one of
a
you is the
wuss.
lead boy?
I also like Lore. Lore's kind of dumb in a jock way too. She's like, oh no, it is 13. Like I like that. But don't worry, Lore is attracted to boys. She has a consistent crush on one boy in
Thank
the show.
God.
So
We're only in 2001. We can't have, we're just barely kind of grasping at having gay or queer characters in cartoons.
Well, with characters like these, then you have to give them like a opposite sex love interest so people don't think they're gay. I think it's because of fucking Velma. Everybody's like, oh, everybody makes jokes about Velma.
Yeah.
So we have to give, and now Velma's been given a love interest. Like she dated Shaggy.
I think Arthur was the first major breaking through the anti-gay ceiling sort of moment. I mean, Steven Universe did a lot of stuff, obviously.
Yeah,
but
hey, now Steven Universe had a gay wedding years before.
Oh, you're
Arthur
right.
did.
But I guess because it wasn't like couched in a realistic setting, people didn't really get that upset. People were really upset about the Arthur thing.
Oh, this new Arthur thing is really. I mean, well, and remember before that on Arthur, the Arthur spin-off show with Buster, was his name's Buster? His rabbit friend. It's like postcards from him, and there's an episode where he goes to a state where gay marriage is legal, and there's like a two moms kind of just drawn in the background, and they censored that. They're like, they were too much upset about that, and they got rid of it.
Yeah, Arthur's another Doug-style show that is really memed a ton online.
I think it's because it's been so like ever present for 20 years. I think it's the new meme thing. I mean, Arthur's cool. I like old Arthur. They had an episode about autism. They had an episode about giving passive aggressive sorries. Like, I'm sorry I hurt your. I'm sorry your feelings were hurt.
These are
by
things kids need to know. I totally agree. I'm not being sarcastic.
No, that's the most important lesson they should know these days. But yes, and you see Tish finally has stopped laughing at him, and she's the most like lefty of the group, I think, especially given her vegetarianism. And she's also the most enlightened of the group too. Like she's a future NPR host, is how they write Tish.
Sort of like a Lisa Simpson.
Very much a Lisa Simpson, which also is like she's awkward in the. That's why I identified with her a lot in when I would watch this, because like, oh yeah, I'd be the worst dancer in the group, and I would be the one who would not want to rollerblade either when the rest were doing
That
it.
is scary.
Tino then plays the role of modern society, shouting at his own mom to say that she has made him a wuss. And definitely
the feminization of young men.
That definitely feels like what they're dealing with here. That kind of fear of what single mothers. That's what they always said in the 90s. Like, boys that grow up without a good male role model will turn into sissies or some other kind of monster.
And the fact that I was raised by a single mother has nothing to do with my wussiness. That's all my decision to be a wuss.
Your sissiness is nature, not nurture.
Exactly. It's inborn.
But I doubt you ever yelled at your mom like Tino does here.
Hey, aren't you going to complain about the food? In case you're wondering, it's curried cactus casserole.
It's fine.
Fine? Okay, now I'm a little worried. I think you need some positive energy therapy.
And what might that be?
That would be a soothing sea salt bath and an aromatherapy candle.
Wait a second. It's you. It's all your fault.
Sweetie, take a cleansing breath and tell me what you're talking about.
That's what I'm talking about. All your cleansing breaths and stuff have made me too sensitive.
Honey.
Playing whale song CDs all the time, taking me on paint your own ceramic outings, and mother and son Jane Austen film nights.
Tino.
You made me an emotional wimp. I will never feel anything again. From now on, I have no emotions.
Honey, you sound angry.
Okay, no emotions after that one.
It's also interesting, the pacing on this show is that even though it's two episodes, there's a commercial break in between each of the shorts.
Yeah, I guess I need to fit in 2 commercials. So
well, and all those Manny the Uncannies, they gotta fit them in there somewhere.
Paul Rugg's got kids, man.
But yeah, Tino really is speaking for modern society there and rejecting single moms, especially like you can see how much mocking new age moms had gotten to this point that it's trickled down in popular culture into kids shows.
Yeah, she's kind of like a real crystal mom too.
Oh yeah. Maybe we're just thinking of Marianne Williamson.
Oh boy,
days.
she's I mean orbs, right?
Yeah, the orbs. But yeah, she talking about cleansing breaths and sea salts and being a vegan, and she has like a little necklace thing too. You know, in the other episode, I think she probably went to like a yoga retreat or something and on her trips. But yeah, that's the kind of new age mom she is. I think she's a good mom, and they show that she gives him a lot of responsibilities and is raising him well. But the Jane Austen movie night thing, that's a good gag though. I would have welcomed that with my mother.
My mom liked things like Nothing But Trouble. So
okay.
Actually, my mom loves that movie.
Really?
So I always think it's funny when people say it's the worst movie ever. My mom loves that movie. She still like talks about it and like the guy with the penis nose and everything.
Oh, Jesus Christ. My mom, we watched movies all the time, but it was often just whatever was going to be nominated for an Oscar or seem like Oscar bait. Those were most of the movies. So we watched a lot of important films or.
So around this time you'd be watching What, A Beautiful Mind or something?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I remember we'd even, if a foreign language thing got nominated, we'd watch it too. Even like, one of the last ones we watched together that was Oscar nominated after I moved was Black Swan. And I was like, boy, this is uncomfortable watching this.
I can see why.
Seeing simulated masturbation with your mom in a movie is like, that's not fun to watch.
How do you even know it's simulated?
Well, I guess we'd have to ask Natalie Portman, I suppose. But I also really love the dramatic staging on Tino saying like, I have no emotions. That's a funny
It's a clever line, yeah.
Yeah.
Angrily screaming, I have no emotions.
And so then we come back from the little commercial, and I gotta give a few like negative marks to Langdell here. By 2001, arcades were just about dead, but I'm not saying kids didn't go to arcades, but it fails the My Video Game test of they have 80s fucking sounds coming out of a 2001
like
video
the Donkey
game.
Kong audio effects reel.
Yeah, I hate
I
that.
guess if they're on like a boardwalk thing, these kind of expensive sit-down games were becoming the norm even this early, like around the late 90s, early 2000s. So I can see like this being a game, but you wouldn't be waiting for an arcade game. It's not like Street Fighter or whatever, or Mortal Kombat.
But it drives me crazy to hear bleeps and bloops and stuff. Yeah, it's like, no, that's not. Even by 2001, video games do not sound like that. Unless they're trying for a retro aesthetic, which I wouldn't think Mood Madness 2 would be going for that. That was Jeers on their video game views. Cheers to their correct saying that the sequel is louder and it costs more. That defines a video game sequel.
That's true.
For me. And yes, as they're about to get up in to play the brand new game, it breaks. I really like the old man who fixes the machines. I think he's lived quite a life.
Yeah, he's been through several arcade generations.
But that they can't play their video game. Everybody's angry except for Tino, who's just like, whatever. And his friends are concerned by how little he cares. Even when a thing runs over his foot on the beach, he has no reaction to it. And his friends are very worried.
T, that guy just ran over your foot.
I know. It was quite painful.
Sidebar. Okay, our best friend is turned into a robot. And not even a cool laser blasting kind of robot. More like a fire hydrant with legs.
We gotta fix him.
Yeah, we have to show him that it's okay to have emotions.
How are we gonna do that? Tino, it says on the internet that Chum Bucket just broke up.
Whatever.
Look, a baby dolphin caught in a tuna net.
Whatever.
I spilled my chug-o-freeze.
What? Okay, that wouldn't be all that sad even if I had emotions.
Sure, it's sad. I ruined a $20 blouse.
Whatever.
He's keeping his blasé attitude intact.
Even then, I like that he points out, like, there's several moments in here where Tino knows he's on a TV show. He's just like, look, even if this was your plot point, that's not even bad enough to make me sad.
Although previously he said pain tears don't count.
That's
so
true.
he could have cried about this foot being run over by the bike.
Yeah, but I guess he's even trying to stuff those down. Like this, this is a real thing kids do. Like, I definitely didn't like when my feelings were hurt as a kid, and so I tried to pretend things didn't hurt my feelings, and that just makes you more unhappy, I found out.
So why the clip was playing, I remembered something about my arcade. So I just went home to my hometown for the first time in 3 years, and I went to my half-dead mall, and the arcade that I played games in there for about 10 years, from like 87 to 97 when it closed. Previously, it wasn't a call center, but it was one of those places where you do like focus group stuff, and that mall used to be full of people like giving you surveys, but they've been gone for like a decade. Now that storefront is just nothing. It's just a gate pulled down over nothing.
Oh, God.
And as is like a third of that mall. So
yeah, I would think. I mean, I would have guessed even half. Like, boy, I haven't gone back to my childhood mall. It was kind of healthy the last time I was there. By mall standards, it was healthy.
I mean, now they're trying to turn it into sort of like a recreational place to go where there are just like giant Connect 4 games in the middle of just nothing, and cornhole courts that you just can play cornhole on.
Interesting.
Yeah, they're trying to repurpose the mall. It's weird.
Well, they got to do something with it. Like they can't. And certainly not a place for homeless people.
Oh,
Can't
no.
be that.
You close the giant Sears, close the giant Dillards, just fill it with garbage. Who cares?
If you had beds in there, you got to burn them to make sure nobody can get a free bed. All these things that would make Tino sad. Like I like every kids cartoon has to have their own beats, their own made up super group. That's the popular thing. Like Chum
Yeah.
Bucket is there. It makes me think of Chumbawamba, honestly, Chum Bucket.
Yeah, I have to wonder. We probably see Chum Bucket at some point during the series.
Yeah, they're. That's why I said no doubt, because they're kind of a multicultural band of hip kids in cool outfits. Like they're very much dressed like No Doubt. That was my main thought on who they were based on. A little, I was just thinking Real Big Fish because they're coming to town. I don't know if you saw that.
I saw
on the
that
billboard.
with Bowling for Soup.
Yeah.
So get your. They should call it the Fish Soup Tour or something.
If Real Big Fish promised they'd only play songs from the one album of theirs I bought, Sellout.
Yeah,
then,
I mean,
they
is
have-
there another album?
Yeah,
no
they
one
had
can say.
They had their second one. And they
No
must-
one can say, Henry.
I got really disappointed when I went to see a band and they played new things. Like I don't want to be too disappointed. It was great to see the Pixies, though it's less special now than it used to be because they've been doing this reunion tour for a long time. But whenever the Pixies was like, and now it's time for a new song, I was like,
How's that bathroom?
All right, yeah. It's not even like the songs are bad, but it's just like, dude, especially when Black Francis didn't try as hard as he could on Where's My Mind. I was like, come on, at least buy the right to do new songs by doing a little better on this one.
That's what people are there for.
At least Wave of Mutilation he did a good job on. But anyway, yes, they can't get Tino to cry. These reactions are not getting him. And so they instead try to get him to be angry.
Hey, T, I busted your game thingy.
Whatever.
Oops! Goodness, was this your prized chess trophy?
Whatever.
You know what? Fractal Man could beat up Captain Dreadnought.
Whatever.
Scooter the Happy Pony could beat up Captain Dreadnought.
You're probably right.
A small bundle of twigs could beat up Captain Dreadnought.
One never knows.
You know what? Forget you, Tino. I never really liked you anyway.
Nice try, but you left your script on the coffee table, Olivier.
Forget you, Tina. I never really liked you. On me wag.
My handwriting's getting better, don't you think?
Okay, I'm calling off Plan B. I wish you'd have said that before I went upstairs and busted Tino's computer.
Whatever.
I haven't seen a lot of the show, but I do like how they could easily make one of the characters just too stupid in order for the plot to work. But he's onto them at all times.
Yeah, I like that he's like sarcastic and has a dry wit. Tino does, and that's also a running joke on the show that Carver has terrible handwriting. Like in the Chum Bucket episode, they get Chum Bucket to say their names on stage and say they're their friends, but they let Carver write the note of who knows their names, and so they mispronounce all the names. And there's a lot of good running gags on the show I really like. And I also like that probably would have tricked Tino if he hadn't seen the script. Them actually telling him, like, forget you, you're not my friend anyway. I really like how they pick the ways to bother him. I don't think of Tino as much of a chess trophy type, but them breaking a video game console and then arguing with a young boy about superhero facts and who's a stronger superhero, that really would piss off children.
Breaking a computer? This is the year 2001. A computer was like $2,500.
I mean, getting to have your own computer in 2001, that's a pretty big deal. I had to share the family computer, and that, made me have to waste a lot of time clearing history.
And waiting for parents to leave.
You kids today with your incognito windows. Yeah. That's we find out later she didn't really break his computer.
Oh yeah.
She just unplugged it, but that was a good move by Lore of like she almost got him. Like that eye twitch he did was really funny. The mom is also trying to get him to show emotions again because she's right. It is not healthy to stifle all of your emotions. And then she tries to say that him being sarcastic is an emotion, which he disagrees with. And I'm with you, Tino. Sarcasm is a way of life. That's how you do it.
Oh, I'm really sure it is Henry.
It's a very nice mom. I like the mom in this show.
Yeah.
Other than that, she keeps feeding him the same
Slop.
food that
Yeah.
she made 2 days ago.
I think a real single mom would just bring home McDonald's every day, or just like you'd be eating the same like frozen pizza.
You've got no fucking other time in your life.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
To make it one meal is a pretty big blessing for her.
And they come back to them at the mall on Sunday. Tino, they try to get him with like envy by talking about a rich kid who can buy stuff. I like that Lore is the dumb one who doesn't get it. She's like, yeah, you know, money isn't everything. Ow, hey. Oh, that was a funny line. And then we get a very unexpected plot twist, which I wish at the end of this they didn't walk it back. I wish this was just real, but I feel like Disney wouldn't let him do it. It's too dark.
I thought it was, I was like, oh, this is unexpected. This person's is kind of like a Travis, but kind of like a Travis Bickle in the making, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Because he's at the end of his rope, and whatever follows cannot be good for this person.
Excellent move, kid. Yeah, I gave up that whole having feelings thing years ago. Best decision I ever made.
Really?
Haven't had one sad day since. Not even when my wife left me.
Yeah. See, I knew I made the right... Your wife?
Yeah, she said I was too cold. Took the kids and the dog. House, car, toaster, linen, shoes, shoelaces.
Isn't that kind of terrible?
Nah. Then I lost my business because I didn't care what happened to it, and now I can't hold down a job because I don't relate to people so good. But I haven't had a single sad day. Or a single happy day. Anyhow, way to go, kid. Feelings are for suckers, right?
Excuse me? I think I just came to my senses. Guys, wait up. Guys!
Hey, you never said you were married.
I wasn't. His mom paid me $20 to tell that story. And she give me some curried cactus casserole.
Sweet.
I think that guy is thinking the curry cactus casserole could lead to something else, like
Yeah.
a woman.
Well, because clearly he's not married, so
Yeah.
that he's like, this single mom offered me this casserole. Where else could it lead?
So I mean, after seeing the ending of the second episode, I wish Tina would have realized like that guy was full of shit, but my mom cared enough about me to do this, so you know.
Yeah, but instead he thought it was. I mean, it's a convincing story. I wish they hadn't undercut it. I wish it had just been true, but I think
or that, yeah.
I think they didn't have the guts, or they were afraid to make kids that sad by talking about a real person like that. But that's so believable. Like divorced dad, that guy is such a divorced dad.
Not Travis Bickle, like divorced dad energy. He's like he wouldn't not have the momentum or drive to buy a gun.
But that guy at his age too, like the facts of his life are that he's never been married and works at the food court, which is like, feels like you never, I don't know. I don't want to, hey, if he's happy at the food court, then he's happy. But that doesn't seem like a successful man by America's standards. I like that he even says shoes, shoelaces. Like, they had a lot of fun with this guy's tragic life. Like, just saying, like, I don't relate to people so good. Can't hold down a job, but hey, whatever.
They have a lot about him to define in about 20 seconds.
And that I love that he's such a tough guy, but that he can also is so in touch with his emotions that he knows he doesn't have them and hurts other people too. It's just so, it's actually very similar to the end of the next episode because it's so over the top that Tino maybe should see through it a little bit, but instead he treats it like seeing the ghost of Christmas future. He's going to change his ways. Then there's some of the best acting in this episode is from Marsden as he kind of like unloads all of his emotions at once in this ending here.
Oh, it's good to have the old emotional Tino back.
Sure
You
is.
said it.
It's good to be back. Oh, wait. Did Chum Bucket really break up?
No,
Oh, those poor baby dolphins. I'm sorry about your blouse, but you broke my chess trophy, and my game thingy, and my computer.
Actually, I just unplugged.
And Captain Dreadnought could beat a Fractal Man, Scooter the Happy Pony, a small bundle of twigs, and your daddy. Oh, yeah. How do you like them apples?
Why did we want his emotions back?
I cannot recall.
Mom, I'm sorry I got mad at you.
I knew you'd come around.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks. Life would be pretty bad without feelings, even if they do get you in trouble sometimes.
I'm glad you think so, because you may have some feelings about this yummy dinner.
Leftover curried cactus casserole. My feelings? Nausea. Later days.
Yeah, Marston is great. He's one of the many reasons why the Goofy movie works so well. If they didn't have a Max as strong as him in terms of voice acting, I don't think it would have been as good of as good of a movie.
Max and Tino have a lot in common in that they both like are struggling with wanting to be cool,
having a single parent.
Yeah, single
that
parent
embarrasses them.
Which I'd rather eat bad vegan food than have a father that almost kills me twice a day at least. As humiliating as Goofy is, but he's so good at playing like a stressed teen. He's had to be a stressed teen for 25 years now.
It's very true. Yeah, he's good at being a teen.
I mean, he's one of the. That's why he'll have a job for life in animation because, male voice actors can't play young all that long in their careers, most of them. But Marsden has kept his youthful voice or can at least fake it for a long time.
It's weird that he sounds pitched up, though, just like
He
a
does,
tiny perceptible amount. Not too much, but just like I've heard him speak as a teen after this without being pitched up. So maybe they just thought, like, he sounds... I guess these kids aren't really teens.
They're tweens.
Yeah, they're tweens.
But Disney hadn't invented that word yet, tween. But,
as a new marketing group.
But also, it's a very cartoony thing of Tino just outright stating the theme of the episode.
Yeah.
Like, emotions are important, even though if they get you in trouble sometimes. Like, which, that's a good way to live your life. Like, accept that. Don't run from your emotions. I also like it's a very... it's arguments that happen to this day on Twitter of like, this superhero could beat all these characters, even Yo Daddy. I loved his delivery of Daddy.
Yeah.
That was very funny. That was a great little gag, too, of just all the things that he had been burying have to come out at once he finally accepted his emotion again. And we come into the second act. There's a little, like, mid-show opening in the middle of it.
Yeah, it's like, this will eat up some time. It's like a truncated version of the opening, but I guess these didn't run back-to-back like this?
Or they'd have, like, a break between interstitials, or it'd be, like, one recess and one Weekenders, then a recess and a Weekenders.
This could be like the repackaged Toon Disney version, which they put 2 Weekenders together, and the intro is just to remind you what you're watching.
Listeners heard it earlier in this podcast, but there was like a, hey, kids should read type thing from Toon Disney that was hosted by the Weekenders, and it was mostly just clips of the characters reading books from the show, except they got new recording with Marsden as like, hey, it's Tino from the Weekenders, you should read, and like, obviously they were just like, he's in the Disney family, he just did it,
I wonder if at any point there was like a Weekenders live show at Disney World or something.
It was only big for 2 years, so by that point I think Disney was done with
I want to meet Tino.
that head is made to be worn by a person.
It is.
Is his giant pumpkin head. But yes, then we come back to the Perfect Son. I could identify a little of this one too, of just fearing that your dad doesn't like you. Like that one's a feeling for me there.
As a dad-free child, I was often liked more than my friends were by their parents.
Oh, see?
And I remember having like a really shitty friend, and I could tell like their dad was really impressed with me, and like I was like doing like I guess what he thought were cool things, and his son really wasn't. I remember he was just like talking to me, and all of a sudden my friend blurted out like, "Bob's smoked weed before."
Damn,
like in the middle of nowhere, I'm just like, what? It was true, but also off topic.
Yeah. That'll only make you look cooler to dads.
I know. It's like, whoa, like indica or sativa, bro. What's up?
So you were the real life Tino in this episode.
Yeah.
While I was Carver, worried about my father not loving me because I did something wrong. Though this is a good dad in this show, apparently.
Yeah.
Okay, so in this one too, though, it really hit me how heavily relied upon Phil Lamar and Cree Summer were in voice acting then. Like in the regulars of voice acting, at least out of the LA area, there were not a lot of African-American voice actors beyond those two. Like, not many got cast and stuff.
I think Kevin Michael Richardson was just sort of coming into the voice acting realm at this point.
Beginning, yeah. And I mean, there's way more now. And I think that also just speaks to the fact of, like, there weren't a lot of African-American characters written into shows before, like, 1990. Like, Cree Summer, she got her start on Different World, right? And, like, so she kind of transitioned into voice acting once there was finally a call for having the right move of African-American actors playing the few black characters that were on TV shows.
And I'm sure like the rare times there were a black character, it would be a voice director asking a bunch of white actors, who can do a black guy?
Yes, yeah. And John DiMaggio was like, hey.
Hey.
No, hey, we love DiMaggio. But yeah, Phil Lamar was just getting getting into voice acting at this time too. Like this is post Samurai Jack, but his career was beginning around this time.
Like it was a lot of Mad TV people becoming voice actors, which good for them.
Yeah. Oh, actually, no. This was concurrent with Samurai Jack because that premiered in like 2000 or 2001.
2001. Yeah. Or like it was alongside Adult Swim.
With the Adult Swim tapes. you had.
The famous tapes. I was first. Me.
This episode is a real good one for Phil Lamar with Cree Summer getting like 3 different voices in this, which I mean that's also a budget thing too. Like the show has like 7 voice actors per episode. You double up on voices on pretty much everything. But this definitely wasn't cast by Andrea Romano, who this is very much more in the Disney stock actor kind of world. But anyway, yes, we start at Pizza Spy, where the kids are enjoying spy themed pizzas being dropped off in briefcases where you have to exchange code words.
Oh, you know what? I might have been taking notes, but I was wondering, I guess I missed the sign on the pizza place because I'm like, who is this guy? And is he like a recurring character? So it's my fault for missing the sign.
Yes.
And I didn't totally realize the different pizza places were a running theme in the show.
Yes. Yeah. It was changed to Pizza Spy for this one. It's actually a pretty funny transition when it, has the normal Friday on screen, then the words classified get put over it, and it transitions to that being the logo of the pizza restaurant.
They do different things to the Friday, Saturday, Sunday chyrons or whatever that are really fun.
Yeah, I mean, it lets them be creative in some ways that the concept of the show won't really let them. Like, the point is to be very grounded, and characters don't normally do cartoony things, though the spy does pop his head out of a briefcase, which is impossible to do in real life.
Like a magic trick.
Yeah,
I remember for the Saturday transition, like a bird lands on it, and then that fades into a branch that the bird is on.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that also feels a little Rugrats-y, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But yes, as they order their pizza, Tino pretty much just explains what the plot of this episode is to the camera.
So, my mom's going out of town this weekend, and guess where I'm gonna stay? Carver's house.
Gonna be a blast, man.
Don't be so sure. Remember that one time I stayed with Tish? Stuff you expected to happen didn't, like dinner.
Now is contacting of departed relatives.
Stuff you didn't expect to happen did, like ghosts.
Time for God milkings! Come on!
Lore, you made that stuff up. Well, I had to. The truth was so boring. Anyway, the point is, other people's families do stuff weird.
Wow, Laura has a point.
Where?
Tino, my parents are way more strict than your mom.
Are you saying you don't trust me to behave myself for 2 lousy days?
Of course not. I'm saying... No, wait. That is what I'm saying.
I like that they made the flashback fake or made up, because I was watching this, I'm like, this is way too broad for the last thing I watched. There's no way I'm buying any of this.
I was shocked by how wacky it was.
Yeah.
Which made it even funnier when Tish was like, none of that happened. What the fuck?
Yeah, I like that.
It's almost racist to her.
A little bit, yeah.
To her immigrant parents, yeah.
It's interesting because like a lot of shows, in order for a joke to be made, no one can like react to a crazy thing that's said. They just have to move on. I like that people don't buy lies in this show very often. They're like, no, wait a minute, you're lying to me.
Or even like Carver couldn't think of a funny thing. Like, no, I'm not saying that. Oh, yeah, I am.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm saying. And also this, it captures something we talked about in our Tiny Toons, What a Cartoon Movie, the upsetting uncomfortableness of like a sleepover at a friend's house that does anything slightly different from how your family does it.
Yeah. I had like no rules in my house just because my parents were just too busy to enforce them or too tired, really. So it was weird to be like, wait, I have to go to bed now, or like church? Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Oh, well, we drink milk with breakfast here. I'm like, well, milk sucks. Like you're drinking milk. Like,
all the pop here is diet. I said pop.
Or having to pick different shows to watch, or like that but there's also the freedom of knowing like, well, you're not going to punish me, you're not my mom, like
yes.
I didn't do as many sleepovers. More kids came to my place also because I felt more comfortable in my home. I didn't mind putting that stress on my parents, and also like all my video games were there, and I probably had more video games than my friends,
and those were your real friends in the end.
Yeah, I remember them more than Chuck, my 4th grade friend, whoever that guy is. Whatever happened to him? Probably a Trump voter now, I bet.
Hope he's a listener.
Hey, Chuck, if you're listening. But yeah, I'm glad we at least got one little appearance by Tish's family, just so we can get another of the recurring gags on the show. I also like the little very silly gag of like, oh, Trisha, Laura's got a point. Where? Like,
yeah.
Some very Muppety wordplay.
Yeah, it's super like vaudeville.
But yeah, the discomfort of a sleepover that like Laura went through with Tish as well. But also it kind of speaks to the gender roles too of like, you only get to do same sex sleepovers at that age. Like a boy-girl sleepover, that's it's just wrong.
Oh, that would never happen.
Yeah. I think even now in the lax standards of today probably does not happen. I as an adult now, when I see all the retheming of the pizza place, I just think, how do they afford this? This is crazy.
How did the pizza places afford all of this?
Yeah, just to reopen with a different
theater?
theme each
Yeah.
week. Yeah. My personal canon for it is that it's run by an eccentric billionaire who just changes his mind each week.
Like Mr. Fischoeder.
Wouldn't that be cool? Like, God, billionaires are so... I'm just stealing this joke from David Cross in his book. And also Louis C.K. But it's just like billionaires are so boring. They can all do all this shit with all their money, and they just don't do anything.
I hate the billionaires that still have jobs.
Yeah.
You can tell they're true lunatics because you have to be a crazy sociopath to be that rich, but then you would also still want to work. That makes you even like more of a sociopath.
Like once you sell a place for $4 billion, like just throw $1 million at whatever.
Yeah,
and just say like, yeah, have that happen.
I'm going to build the coolest water slide ever.
I want to see just find your favorite cartoon as a kid and hire the creators to make more of it. Just pay them $1 million.
Yeah, why isn't Zuckerberg like funding a new version of whatever he watched as a kid?
Because he's fucking boring.
He's
They're
boring.
all like, that's
like, if I do this, I might not get to be president.
That's why nobody who's a billionaire is cool. To become a billionaire, you're not cool and you don't have these thoughts. Like, that's why when we think, oh, if I was a billionaire, I'd pay off everybody I know's student debt, or I'd give money to every Patreon I ever heard of. Like, that's not what the reason people are billionaires is because they don't think like that.
Statistically, one of our listeners has to be a millionaire. And if that's true, break the streak. Give us like $10,000 a month. Show the world that millionaires care too.
Prove how cool you are by giving us $1,000. I mean, hey, go.
No, 10,000.
Sorry,
10,000 a month.
And what am I saying? 1,000. No, an extra 10,000. Anyway, so then we get to see Tino saying goodbye to his mom as she packs. I'm thinking she's going on a sexy hike with some boyfriend. Actually, I think that's where the bag she's packing seems to. We don't even get like an implication of what's going on or where she's going, but. As a vegan mom, I have to assume it's like some sort of nature hike or yoga thing.
Some sort of getting in touch with yourself camp.
Yeah, with a certain amount of co-opting of Native American mysticism involved there, for sure. It seemed okay then, didn't it? But as she's telling him all the things he's supposed to do and reading a bunch of boring things to him, she starts talking backwards, and you may be wondering, what did she say when she talked backwards? Well, I'll play it for you now. It's not that exciting.
Okay.
To remind you to say please and always use the subjunctive and hypothetical ready for you.
Okay, so it's actually things she would be saying normally.
Yes, yeah.
But just made backwards.
Well, that one was a grammar rule of just say the subjunctive and the predicate.
Okay.
Just like
I couldn't make that out.
But yeah, it wasn't. They didn't sneak anything really crazy into there. But thanks to Audacity for its reverse effect that you can just put on things. It kind of makes putting backwards language in cartoons less fun now.
I include satanic messages in all my podcasts.
So Tino is told that he needs to be on his best behavior while staying over. Like, I don't think I ever stayed more than one night at a friend's house too.
Ooh, maybe there was like one time where it was a whole weekend, but it was very rare.
So when Tino gets dropped off there, he just has like a sack of crap that he just dumps on the floor.
It's like he just showed up at the army.
And I like too, it's a good little misdirect that you think that Tino is going to be this poorly behaved kid because he's, raised wrong or something. But it turns out he's actually more self-sufficient than Carver because he actually just does these things with his mom all the time. He doesn't have to be made to do them.
Yeah, it helps that he, I could say, like, as a latchkey kid raised by a single mom, you just learn how to do everything. No one just like, you must learn how to do dishes. Like, oh, I have to do dishes because my mom is working, or I have to learn how to cook a pizza or make mac and cheese or whatever because my mom is working. So it's kind of realistically observed that he would be independent like this.
Yeah. And then we also get to meet in this next clip Carver's dad, Mr. D. He's, I think Phil Lamar plays him differently enough, but it is a little weird to hear him talking to himself.
Yeah.
And it feels like they just didn't have the budget to get another actor to cast for a recurring role like his dad. I get it. You don't want to famous person because it'd be hard to get them back.
Yeah, and I'm sure they were like, is there another black person that voice Hex in the year 2000?
In 2000, no, I don't think so. Have a little taste of Carver's anxiety in this next clip.
Here's a list of everything I ever got punished for. Avoid all of this, and you'll be fine.
Why don't you set that stuff down, sport?
Didn't want to leave bag on floor.
Yeah, remember when I did that? You made me sweep the living room.
I asked you to sweep the living room because it was dirty. The bag had nothing to do with it.
Whatever you say, Big D.
Right you are, Big C. Psych.
Nice rug. Is it imported?
It's bedtime, guys.
It's 10 o'clock.
Yes, it is. Good night.
You really go to bed at 10 on a Friday? Amazing.
Tino, last time I turned on the light after 10, I had to do my homework for a week.
Which you would have to do anyway.
Man, do you have a lot to learn.
Tino needs a worm light. That's what I was thinking.
We
all had worm lights in 2000 and 2001 for our Game Boy Colors.
That moment really made me feel like a whiplash of time.
Yeah.
Because the way it's posed, when he takes it out at first, I was like, oh, he pulled out his phone to look at his phone. I was like,
what's happening on Twitter?
But instead, when he turned on the light, that's when it hit me like, no, it's a Game Boy that has no backlight, so he needs a light for it. And yeah, I played a lot in bed with a light. I think I had more lamps than worm lights. Worm lights I'd only pull out for the trips like on the road.
Worm lights are so great. They lasted forever too.
You kids today, man, you didn't know the pain of like on a long family road trip, you couldn't play your Game Boy at night. You'd have to like, or every time a street light came by while you're playing, like, oh, I can see now. Okay, woof, all right.
Or you're constantly just moving around the car trying to find the sun.
Yeah. Or the headlights from the car behind you. And you're like, okay, now I can see Donkey Kong.
You gotta chase that high.
But yeah, Tino was much more me as a kid there. Just like, you're going to bed at 10 o'clock? No, it's video games and bedtime. Bloop, doop, doop. I don't think I ever stayed over at a friend's house, though, where they had a strict go to bed rule. Though, also at sleepovers, I was usually the one who went to sleep first because I just like, I don't stay up late very well, even as a child. Now I just simply can't do it.
Yeah. The old age is set in. And it's just like up by 6:30 and bed by 11.
Yeah, it sucks. I don't like it at all.
Yeah, I don't know how to sleep in anymore.
No, I mean, I just, when they wake up with the 6:30 alarm, I'm like, my brain just does that. My brain tells me, hey, wake up.
Start worrying.
There's something that's your responsibility you're not doing
something
right
is due.
God. Anyway, it is funny to learn as Carver explains things. It's just like, you overthink all these things. You think normal chores are punishments just because of how they're presented to you by your parents, I guess. But I do like his mom, Cree Summers, saying like, it sure is. Like, and she just turns off the light.
Yeah.
Like there's no conversation to be had with her.
Yeah, the writing is very smart because Carver is kind of anxiety riddled, or at least high strung. So he assumes that like he's about to get in trouble, and that his parents asking him to do things are punishments because he did something bad.
Mhm.
It's very good writing. I like it. They're not really spelling it out to you why he's feeling these things.
He constructs this Kafka-esque nightmare of just like, I put my thing on the floor. Or like his description of what's terrifying to him. Tino's just like, yeah, there are things a parent asks you to do is like, you just don't know. It gives something interesting for Carver to do there. I like that a lot. And yes, we get to see a little more taste of Carver's stressful life at the breakfast table the next morning.
You are trying to get me in trouble.
Sorry, I was just...
It's all right, Tino. That's what napkins are for.
Carver, maybe you and Tino could do the dishes after breakfast.
Sure thing, Mrs. Descartes.
Just be glad we didn't get hit with something worse than dish duty.
You know, I do dishes all the time at home. It's just something you do.
Tino, are you totally unaware of the real world?
It's really the Carver world I'm having trouble with.
I like, too, his little grumble when she says, could you guys do the dishes? That's just his mom asking, can you clear the table?
Yeah.
But Carver sees it as like, I just got punished by doing the dishes thanks to you, Tino. Like, Carver is a little crazy, actually.
Yeah. Hope you got therapy.
Yeah. And Cree Summer plays the mom, the older sister, and the little boy in the family too.
I mean, after doing the Tiny Toons thing, I could do without the baby voice.
Oh God, it just reminds me of Elmira, the worst. The Peter Hastings quit over Elmira. He hates her so much. Little brothers like that, they suck. I don't. A 2-year-old little brother. Unfortunately, my little brother was only 3 years younger than me, so we were basically the same age. I didn't have to deal with him being a baby too much, which was nice. Though, of course, when you're 3 and there's a new baby, you think to yourself, "I'm being rejected. This baby has replaced me."
I was the youngest child, so I got all of the abuse.
No,
from my sister, not from my parents.
Yeah, no, you're the baby though. You get all the love,
and I turned out better.
You did. Well, I think in the competition, me and my brother, it's a little harder to say. I don't know. He's
money. Judged by money.
Well, I mean, his.
I want this on the air too, by the way.
I don't know if he does make more than my Patreon, but he lives in a much cheaper place with I'd say 2/3 of what I pay in rent. He, I think, is mortgaging a house right now in Jacksonville.
I'm surprised it's not 1/3. Not that your rent is too high. You just have normal rent.
Yes, yeah. No, I have normal rent for this area, not for. But then he's saving money, but he's living in Florida. So
true.
Who's the real sucker now? After they put dishes away, they cut to the next day at the arcade. They are playing at the gamiest place on earth. That was a funny sign gag. I like that, and that's their recurring Dave and Buster's arcade they go to, where they also play pool, which I did not have pool at any arcade I went to.
I've never seen a child playing pool or a tween playing pool.
I mean, if I was somebody buying a pool table, I would not trust children around it because they just steal the pool ball.
Yeah, and I had a friend who had a pool table, and he would try to teach me how to play pool, but he was just so anxious about the felt getting scratched.
Oh,
so it was not fun to play. It's like, you're gonna scratch it.
Yeah, I had a friend whose family had a pool table too, which made me think that they had more money than my family, just because they could.
Yeah.
If you have a pool table it says a certain level higher of middle class.
Yeah, and now
and you have the space for an entire room to be taken up with a fucking pool table. Pool table's fun for a little bit, but it's a whole room.
My pool skill remains the same as it did 20 years ago. I'll accidentally make a good shot once out of every 20 shots.
And you then feel uncomfortable leaning over the whole time. It's no fun. Virtual pool is so much better.
It's like virtual golf.
Virtual darts.
Yeah, wastes even less space.
Carver is so terrified too of what's going to happen that he even says he thinks walking the dog is this giant punishment. He's like, let's pray it doesn't come to that. Yeah. It's giving Phil Lamar a lot of space to be really funny in this episode as the overly worried Carver. When they go back home, everybody loves Tino, and that's really driving Carver crazy.
Ooh, let me get that for you, sir.
When was the last time you heard a young man say sir?
I can't remember. You kids could all learn something from Tino.
Tino, you're going too far.
Tino, read me a story tonight.
You bet I will, Toddy.
Yay! I wish Tino was my brother.
Carver, slouching will ruin your posture. So your mother must be very proud to have a model son like you.
Yes, sir. She's thinking of renting me out for demonstrations, sir.
Demonstrations. What a clever young man.
I forgot there was an "oh no, you didn't" in there.
Yeah. Tina's really razzing everybody.
The little moment of his dad telling him to stand up straight, they don't say it out loud, but it is just the double standard is what's bugging him.
Yeah.
That his dad expects so much from Carver, while with Tino, he's just like, oh, you're pretty good. Hey, all right, thumbs up.
He's not a little wiener kid like Milhouse.
Yeah. No, Tino is making Carver look like the wiener. It's the Chad Tino to the virgin Carver.
Every relationship boils down to that and everything.
I hate how much that distinction has gotten to my brain now of Chad versus Virgin.
It makes me laugh every time, though.
It does make me laugh. It comes from a rancid psychology, for sure.
Yeah, but you're making fun of that.
I am, yes. Though kid, there's only so much you can joke about something before you end up with a president. So I worry about joking too much about Chads. Anyway.
But the internet these kids are using is not quite 4chan yet. It's more like, what is that? They're probably like on Neopets or something, or like they're just joining something awful.
Yeah, they probably are on the essay forums or
Style Project.
Yeah, I was going to say Style Projects, yeah.
Portal of Evil.
I would think the bully in their class probably is like, dudes, go check out Style Project, man. It's hardcore.
I like FARC.
That was enough for me. I was like, I never want to see this again.
I'm haunted for life.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, yeah. Speaking of being haunted in your dreams.
Yeah.
That's what happens to Carver here. He has a very literal and obvious dream, which you think only happens in TV shows, but I have a lot of very obvious thematic dreams.
I hate when that happens because you're like, God, I'm such a hack.
I am supposed to be creative.
Yeah, it's like, dress us up a little, brain.
I'm scared of on my flight tomorrow, and I'm dreaming about flying. Yeah, but Carver's dream is that he has been completely replaced by Tino in his house, even wearing his clothes and being totally ignored by his family. And you get a good little no. They make Lamar scream a lot.
Yeah.
You know?
And they it's a great kind of creepy gag where Tino's face is pasted over his on the family portrait.
I love how slow the reaction is too.
Yeah.
They cut to his face, they cut to the photo, back to Carver's face, back to the photo, Carver's face photo. Like it's really fun, obvious pacing there. On such a grounded show, dream sequences like this let them really experiment a lot more than they would. Though, again, I'd say like most Langdale shows, this is very writer driven. Like, not that the animation isn't good, but it's in service to a script. It doesn't feel like animators are really, getting to be too creative with the concepts.
There are some nights such as where you feel like somebody is trying to do something, but it's very literal, the animation. I will say it's not bad. It's not sloppy. It's very clean and kind of sterile, but it's nothing exciting.
Yeah. That's why this one is so good for audio clips, because none of the animation, you're not hearing us say, like we said on Ren and Stimpy,
you gotta see this.
Yeah. Never are we saying that, but not that the animation is even bad, but it's just serviceable to a cute script. I like that Carver wakes up with a clenched jaw of like, you need to see a doctor if that's if you have lockjaw when you wake up. And then we get in the second to last clip here, it's the kids hanging out at an exotic foreign food place where the exotic foreign food is potato.
A different kind of potato.
But yes, let's give a listen.
These small, colorful tubers were the original potato, first grown by the Incas around 200 BC. So, please enjoy something dandy from the Andes.
Trust us, that potato looks exactly like you.
Nope, I don't see it.
Dude, don't eat me!
I'm going back for seconds.
Aw, what's wrong, Carver? Still worried Tino's gonna make your dad blow his top?
Are you kidding? He thinks Tino's the greatest.
So what's the problem?
The problem is, my dad likes Tino better than he likes me.
No way!
Yes way! He practically said so.
We should go, Carv. Don't want to get back too late.
Great. I'm sure my dad will be so impressed you got us home on time.
Oh, I'm gonna make an impression, all right.
It's like he knows he's in a cartoon there.
Yeah. Who am I talking to? The music was like very distractingly Wind Waker-y for me.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's the music that they were going for too, so I understand why. But I was just like, oh, it sounds like the Wind Waker is happening.
But what you couldn't see in that clip is that Tino accidentally listens in on the conversation, which he does twice in this episode, which feels a little repetitive for plot. It's like, oh, how do we move the plot forward? Okay, Tino has to hear this.
It's like characters are speaking too loudly when the important person is within earshot.
Tino's like a sneaky kid, though, too. He's I don't think they're ready for him to be that sneaky. But yeah, Tino realizes that he's hurting Carver by being the better son to his dad. And so we then get a cute little comedy montage of him being a bad kid, of sweeping stuff under the rug or playing fetch with his dad's shoes.
Yeah, the show is super grounded in reality outside of the fun pizza gag, so they can't make him do anything too crazy or destructive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all things that Dennis the Menace would be pretty boring if he was doing these things to prank Mr. Wilson. Like he splashes water on his tire.
Like, oh no, my tire's wet and cleaner, I guess.
Yeah, that doesn't seem all that bothersome. But I also like, though, that they play, this is certainly not an angry Ren and Stimpy dad from Carver's father.
No, it's an understanding father.
Yeah, he's just like, hey, well.
No belt is coming off.
No, he's not sitting you down and cornering you to scream at you. But, which is funny too, because Carver seems to think he's like this monster, like who's always yelling at him, which is so strange. His mom seems to be the bad cop in the relationship, honestly. But yeah, Tino is a bad boy for most of Sunday. He realizes he's overdoing it when he hears Carver's parents talk about how they think Tino shouldn't hang out with him anymore, with Carver anymore, because he's such a bad kid. And this is when Tino comes clean and tells Carver's dad what's up.
Carver thinks I like you better than him? That's impossible.
Oh, this is Carver. When it rains, he thinks the sky is mad at him.
Right. It is possible. Don't worry. I have an idea how to handle this.
Bye-bye. Thanks again.
Anytime. Whew. Carver, I'm proud of you for spending time with a kid who has so many obvious difficulties.
What? You said he was a model son.
Please. I was being nice. After all, you must have quite an inferiority complex from hanging around a real model son like you.
Thanks, Dad.
Hey, let's sneak some extra dessert while your mom's not looking.
Whatever you say, Big D.
All right, Big C. Sight.
Yeah, I know. My dad's laying it on a little thick. But it's the thought that counts. Okay, the thought and the extra dessert. Later days.
Yeah, and again, it is nice that he is aware of the fabrication of the laying it on extra thick. I guess it does make sense in the first episode that Tino would not know the stranger as well. When Carver understands his dad and what he acts like, so he would understand when his dad is lying. I do feel like it does feel like a note from a showrunner or like a second draft kind of thing. It's like, make him come outside and talk to the camera and say he understands. Because like a worse show would just end it with like, let's get some ice cream. Okay, Dad. The end.
I think it's a little bit of a treacle cutter type moment.
Yeah.
Like the Langdale as a writer is self-aware enough. Like there's certain level of self-awareness on the show. I feel like it's kind of, they did undercut it with the sad guy in the Cry episode because he says, nah, that was all a lie to trick him. Because in another show, it would have just been that scene, though with a different sad story.
It would have been a bad message, I guess, if so Tino was sort of lying to the dad to make himself look bad, and then in the end, it's resolved by the dad lying to Carver to make him feel better. So it's just like, I guess, lie in a good way to help people would be the moral of the story.
Though it did touch me that Carver's dad cares enough about his feelings to like, oh, I'm sorry I hurt your feelings. Like that wasn't my father. He didn't seem to care too much about your feelings.
These are idealized families.
Yes, yeah. I mean, that's why they're fiction. Like but it's sweet that he's like, oh, hey, I know you're the better son. You're a great son. Let's have dessert. Let's sneak one in. Him saying sneak one past your mother. Also, I like that the dad knows to connect with his son where he's like, hey, we both agree mom's the bad cop.
Yeah,
so let's be sneaky together, huh? Like, I like that whole partners in crime pitch he's got. And that was also, most episodes end with Tino saying later days, but if another character takes the lead in the episode, often they'll say it. In the last episode, they actually all say later days at the same time.
Sort of like Live from New York at Saturday night.
Kinda. Except it pronounces the end of the story.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, there's also other episodes where characters other than Tino, like Carver here, have the ability to talk to the audience too, which is always death. But no, it's actually always funny or interesting. It's a clever use.
It can be a good device.
But yeah, that was The Weekenders. Those two episodes were like fun and so grounded. After we so recently did Ren and Stimpy, this is quite a different story.
It's quite a like 180-degree turn. I mean, to be honest, like I did one of my favorite Ren and Stimpy cartoons, which is just like the weirdest, most disturbing thing ever for the show. We come down to something like this. Initially, I was not like super enthused about it. I was just like, well, I've never seen this, and I'm sure we can make it into something fun, but will I enjoy watching this? And I was surprisingly into it.
Yeah.
I don't think I could just sit down and watch a bunch of these, but if I was born in, let's say, 1992 instead of 1982, I would have watched the heck out of this. Like, it was, I mean, I trust our patrons to be smart and make good choices, and this was much smarter than I was expecting it at the time to be. And again, I never really watched it before this.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Royce, for picking this episode for us. And we appreciate all our patrons, whether they be at Royce's level to choose one of the episodes or one of our $5 patrons, even our $1 guys. We appreciate all of you at patreon.com/TalkingSimpsons.
But we are still looking for that millionaire to give us $10,000 a month. What's it to you? Make our lives better. And speaking of Patreon, if you want to help us out and get every episode of this show 1 week ahead of time and ad-free, along with Talking Simpsons, our sister show, please go to patreon.com/TalkingSimpsons and sign up at the $5 level. At that level, you will unlock every bonus podcast at that level we've done up until this point. So now, over 2 years worth of podcasts will be available to you, including 3 limited miniseries and so many other specials. And our most recent miniseries is Talking of the Hill, which is an entire first season exploration of King of the Hill. And there will be one more miniseries before the year is over because you guys unlock that. And that is only available to people at the $5 level. And we also have a new-ish $10 level that includes extra long bonus podcasts and all of the video content we made before November of 2018. And Henry, what is going on there?
Well, the $10 level, you get to hear once a month our What a Cartoon Movie podcast. It's like this podcast, but twice as long, about a different animated feature film. And this most recent one was the very summer-flavored Tiny Toon Adventures, How I Spent My Vacation. And you can hear us chat not only about that direct-to-video movie, but the entire series, Tiny Toons, for 3 hours and 40 minutes. You want to check that out. And in July, we'll have another great one, too, that you'll only be able to hear in full if you are a patron at $10 a month. One more time, that's patreon.com/TalkingSimpsons.
So I've been one of your hosts, Bob Mackey. Find me on Twitter as Bob Servo. My other podcast is Retronauts. That's a classic gaming podcast. Check it out every Monday and occasionally on Friday at retronauts.com or wherever you listen to podcasts. I just checked. There was never a Weekenders video game. I figured there would have been like a Game Boy Color thing, but no.
No, it just missed it. And
one more year of the show, they would have done it.
And if it had been 10 years later, it had a phone app, but they were just at the wrong time.
It's true, but still, we'll talk about other games that are real on Retronauts, so check it out. And Henry, how about you?
You can follow me, Henry Gilbert, on Twitter at HENEREYG. Not only do I tweet out all my fun thoughts during the year, but you'll also see whenever new podcasts go up on the Patreon and on the free feeds, because I tweet them out as soon as they're live. So please, to stay informed on What a Cartoon and Talking Simpsons, follow me on Twitter, HENEREYG.
Thanks for listening, folks. We'll see you next week for the Excel Saga episode, Animation USA, and we will see you then.
I can't believe Moon Mania 2 is finally here.
It's so exciting. Wait, how is it different from 1 anyway?
It's louder and it costs more.
Cool.